After Yoa reveals to Lloyd that she's become friends with Melinda Desmond, Donovan's wife, Lloyd quickly devises a new strategy, Plan C, the mommy friend scheme for Operation Strix. But when a shocking incident unfolds involving the Red Circus terrorist group, Anya may finally have the chance to get closer to Damien. What are the terrorists plotting this time? And how will it change everything for the Forgers? Let's find out. In the next scene, we cut to the State Security Service office. There, an officer went to Director Wilker to inform him that they had received a troubling report from Division 4. When Wilker read it, he commented that it looked like the remnants of the extremist Red Circus group were involved, to which the officer added that the report was in regard to that group's leader, Billy Squire, who is currently hiding outside the country, and there are unconfirmed reports that the faction he commands is in Berlin. Following that, we are shown the man they were referring to walking along a pedestrian lane in one part of their city. After that, we go to Anya riding in their school bus with her classmates, where their teacher announces that they will arrive at the Berlin Museum in 10 sharp. A certain student was thrilled while talking, so their teacher scolded and asked them to use indoor voices. Anya, extremely excited, was already singing that they were going on an outing or outing according to her, so Becky told her that it wasn't a field trip but a cultural experience. Damien clicked his tongue in irritation because he couldn't believe they had to do that kiddie crap. Ewan cheered him up by saying it would be fun and that there would be dinosaur bones there, to which Emil added that there would even be real mummies. Then Damien asked why they had to travel in those peasant-like vehicles, and Ewan answered that it was probably because the entire first-year class was going. Bill joined their conversation and, after laughing confidently, told Damien that there's value in every new experience. So Damien told him to shut up and asked who told the Wald Hall kids they were allowed to talk to him. He added that the cheapskates could have at least given each class their own bus. So Bill pointed out that what he said was awfully rude and explained that this is an opportunity to make friends with students from different classes. Damien then asked why he would want to do that and pointed out that all the other classes were their rivals, to which Bill replied that if that's the way he wanted it, then they should see which class could correctly name more dinosaurs in the museum. While this was happening, Anya stared at them with a blank expression, then suddenly thought with a serious look that she needed to imitate her papa's tricks when he boom-boozled Chief Gerald Gorey, so she could use them to boom-boozle Damien and make her friendship scheme a success. Next, we are shown her imagined plan and its possible outcome where the dumbed-down Damien calls her dummy and uggo. And because she's allegedly so ugly, he says he'll report her to their teacher. He calls their teacher and says that because she's so uggo or ugly, she should be expelled from Eden, laughing, which surprises their teacher. The teacher asks Anya if that's true because they take uggoness seriously at Eden Academy, to which she cutely answers that she is not an uggo but totes adorbs. Their teacher looked at her because of that and commented that she was right. She is completely adorable, and, turning to Damien, said that in fact Damien is the ugly one here, which startled the dumbed-down Damien. Their teacher dragged him off the bus while saying that he was expelling him from Eden Academy right now for being an uggo meanie, which made Damien burst into tears as he screamed for the teacher to wait and begged that anything was fine, just not that. Anya then stepped in and called out for the teacher to wait a moment. She blocked Damien and said he was not an uggo, only a piece of crap, whereupon their teacher immediately looked away and said that if that's all, he would leave it at that. Dumbed-down Damien burst into tears of joy and thanked her profusely, to which she arrogantly told him to take her to their house. When she thought of all that, she cheekily told herself that that's how she would boom-boozle Damien. She crumpled a piece of paper and threw it at Damien, hitting his head. When he looked at her, she gave him her call me an uggo face. Damien's face was clearly full of irritation, and instead of calling her that, he angrily threw the crumpled paper back at her, which hit her in the face. Becky then asked what she thought she was doing, to which Anya said her plan had failed as she clutched at the paper that had hit her face. In Damien's mind, he wondered what that was all about. He asked himself if she was still mad that he hadn't repaid her for the handkerchief, then thought that he should just hand her that stupid cake and be done with it. He then took out a box of okashi, which immediately grabbed Ewan's and Emil's attention. Ewan happily asked if he had brought snacks, while Emil urged him to open it right away, drooling, which made him startled and stutter. Before long, he couldn't explain the real reason why he had snacks, so he was forced to give them to the two, who thanked him while he only scowled and grew more irritated. Suddenly, George reached out his hand to him, capturing his attention. He yelled at him, asking why he was doing that, and George just tearfully reminded him that he shared his macarons with them back then. Whereupon he shouted again, asking so what, and pointed out that he hadn't gotten any. Becky asked Anya if she had brought any snacks. She said she had brought Churchill confectionery candies, and asked if those weren't super cute. Anya started to rummage in her bag while asking Becky to look, and not long after happily pulled out a bag of peanuts, salted flavor, causing Becky to comment that it was the same as always what she brought. She rummaged again, saying, "and also," so Becky asked if there was anything else, and soon Anya pulled out another bag of peanuts, this time cheese flavor, to which Becky commented that she should try eating a more balanced diet. After that, Anya added that she also had a piece of Bond's kibble, which made Becky comment that she really needed to clean her bag. She cheerfully offered Damien some dog kibble, saying there's no charge, which made him flare up and yell if she wanted him to throw her off the bus, while the Wald Hall kids remarked that the Cecile Hall kids sure were noisy. After that, their teacher stood up and told them all to return to their seats and informed them that they were close to the museum. When he looked ahead, he noticed they were already at the corner. A few moments later, the school bus turned in front of them, but instead of the bus they were on turning as well, it continued straight, which made the teacher wonder where their driver was going. He tried to tell the driver that he had passed the museum, but the driver ignored him and kept driving. Mr. Green, who was riding in the security vehicle escorting the buses, wondered what was happening and radioed the bus in front of them, where it was explained that buses 2 and 3 had broken away from the caravan and gone straight instead of turning, which immediately caught Mr. Green's attention. Back on the bus where Anya was riding, it stopped at a corner, and the teacher, looking uneasy but polite, told the driver that he was pretty sure they'd gone off course and suggested that maybe they could make a U-turn there. The driver opened the school bus door, and a man and a woman boarded. The man resembling the one shown to us earlier when Wilker and his officer were talking about Billy Squire. The teacher, alarmed, asked who they were, and explained that this was a school bus and commuters were not allowed to board. However, the man ignored his words and suddenly tossed him with a powerful taser, immediately knocking the teacher down. When the students saw this, they were terrified and screamed. After that, Billy ordered the driver to continue, while the woman was instructed to tie up the teacher, which she immediately did. Billy then took out a walkie-talkie and asked Bruce, who seemed to be his accomplice, about the status of Vehicle 2, to which he replied that it was done there and there were no problems. The driver then called out and reported that there was a car following them, and when Billy looked through the rearview mirror, he remarked that it seemed to be a security escort. He told the driver to let it get closer, which the driver then obeyed and slowed down. Fear was visible on the children's faces as Billy walked down the center aisle, and when he reached the rear, he opened the door. He pulled out a shotgun and immediately fired at the car. His shot hit the front wheel, causing the car to lose control and crash into a tree. The female student beside Billy whimpered in fear, so he immediately pointed the shotgun at her and yelled at her to be quiet. He then greeted the Eden Academy students with a good morning and said that as the nation's elite, they had probably already figured out what was happening. He introduced their group as the Red Circus and announced that they had hijacked their bus, telling them that if they wanted to live, they had to do exactly what they say, which terrified all the students there. At Eden Academy, word had already reached Housemaster Henry Henderson about the hijacking of the buses. The geometry teacher added that he had been informed that the bus carrying classes 3 and 4, as well as another bus carrying classes 5 and 6, had both been taken over. He also mentioned that Mr. Green's escort car had been shot, causing it to crash. Mr. Henderson asked what the police were doing about the situation, and the teacher replied that he had just reported it to them. According to him, the police instructed them not to contact the parents yet, as doing so would only cause needless panic since they still didn't know what the hijackers wanted. Mr. Henderson then said that he would personally inform the principal himself, ordering all other faculty members to remain on standby and prepare to assist the police. He also instructed that they ensure no information about the situation reached other students or the media, to which the geometry teacher immediately agreed. After that, We return to the bus where Billy was, along with Anya's class. Billy slowly walked down the aisle holding his shotgun, his presence alone striking fear into the children. Anya's mind was flooded with the cries of her classmates, their desperate pleas for someone to save them, their confusion about what was happening and who these people were, their longing to find their parents, and their wish to go home. Some were asking what the security forces were doing and urged them to hurry and rescue them, while another child kept repeating how much he hated this situation. Overwhelmed by the flood of voices, Anya began to feel dizzy. Becky, noticing her distress, worriedly asked if she was okay and told her to try to stay strong. Damien, who noticed her as well, seemed to show a hint of irritation. Suddenly, Bill stood up and, with surprising bravery, shouted for everyone to stay calm, grabbing their attention. He began explaining that everything would be fine and that help was on the way. He reminded everyone that many of their parents were important people, even pointing out that his father was in the Army High Command. Some of the students started to calm down upon hearing that, and Bill added that he was certain his father was mobilizing the army right now. Because of that, Billy aimed his shotgun directly at him and ordered him to be quiet, which immediately crushed Bill's courage as he lowered his head and apologized. Even so, his moment of bravery wasn't in vain, because some of the students started thinking that maybe he was right, that everything would indeed be okay. Anya also began to feel calmer as the minds of her classmates settled. Becky then asked if she was starting to feel better. While sitting down, Bill trembled from sheer fear and exhaled deeply, while Damien commented in his thoughts about how hardcore that kid was. Billy then told them that everyone knew how powerful their parents were, and he asked Bill if that was right, calling him the son of Major Watkins, which made Bill tremble in fear. He then turned to the daughter of Vice Chairman Garnett and asked if she agreed, followed by asking the son of a central bank executive the same question, both of whom were left terrified. Billy added that he was also sure the daughter of the CEO of Black Bell and the son of Chairman Desmond knew that very well. He then declared that yes, they, the students of Eden Academy, were the elite of the elite. They were born with silver spoons in their mouths and raised as the most precious children in the world. That, he explained, was why they were such valuable hostages. He continued, saying he would use their lives to negotiate with the government, and if the government complied with his demands, all of them would return home alive and unharmed, just in time to enjoy their 5-star dinners in their luxurious dining rooms. Then, in a threatening tone, he added that they better pray their parents would use their power to lobby for that. In Becky's mind, she remarked on how obvious it was that her father would never allow anyone to harm her, no matter what. Meanwhile, Anya silently wished for her papa and mama to come. We then moved to Wise's safe house D, where a mustached Wise agent informed Sylvia that they had a situation. He reported that he had heard several buses full of Eden students had been hijacked, to which Sylvia, maintaining her poker face, asked why that mattered, since it was technically a matter for the local police department. The Wise agent agreed, but added that among the hostages were Anya and Damien, which immediately caught Sylvia's attention. She then asked another Wise agent nearby if he was monitoring the police radio channels, to which he replied that the police had already set up checkpoints, but it didn't sound like they had discovered anything yet. The mustached agent then asked if she wanted him to contact Twilight for the mission. Sylvia replied that they couldn't do that since he was currently in buy-in on an undercover mission, and it would take some time before he could return. She instructed them to simply gather whatever intel they could and support the police from behind the scenes, which the mustached agent acknowledged and followed. After that, the scene returns to the moving bus carrying classes 3 and 4. Damien wondered aloud where the bus was headed and questioned how anyone could possibly rescue them if no one even knew where they were. Emile then nervously suggested that maybe they should open the window and yell for help, to which Ewan sarcastically agreed, calling him a dummy and explaining that if he wanted to get them all shot, then sure, he could do that. One of the female students hesitantly asked if the hijackers would kill them once they arrived at their destination, prompting the girl next to her to tell her not to say things like that. Becky then started thinking seriously and said they needed to find a way to convey their location to someone outside the bus. At that moment, Anya decided to read the bad guys' minds. When she did, She heard Billy thinking about what their first move should be once they got their comrades out, with the rest to follow later. He told himself to stay calm since everything was still going according to plan. Meanwhile, the woman was thinking about what the council's response would be. She added that depending on the council's answer, they could actually send a message by killing the children. But the problem with that was she genuinely hoped Billy wouldn't get carried away. Just as the woman's thoughts reached the part about what they would do with the students if things got worse, Anya suddenly acted as if she urgently needed to pee. She said that she didn't know where they were going, but if they didn't get there soon, she'd be in big trouble. Becky, alarmed, whispered to her asking what she was doing, but Anya continued acting and exclaimed that she really hoped her bladder could hold out. Billy then called her out angrily, telling her to stay quiet and asking if she wanted to die. He added that she should just hold it in for now, while the woman beside him muttered that she really hoped she wouldn't have to deal with kids wetting themselves. Anya then overheard the driver's thoughts, saying that they were about 30 minutes away from Papier Palace Park. He also added that if they kept going along Route 1, they would soon exit the South Lake area. Upon hearing this, Anya immediately noticed the name Papier Palace Park and softly muttered it under her breath, which caught Becky's attention, who then asked what that was. Anya explained that their bus was headed to a place called Papier Palace Park, which led Becky to ask where that was, how Anya knew about it, and if she was sure. Nervously, Anya replied that she had read the bad guy's lips, which amazed Becky. In disbelief, she asked if she actually knew how to do that, so Anya quickly made up an excuse, saying she learned it from a spy cartoon. Anya then cut the conversation short and said that she thought that was where they were headed. Becky responded that if they could just find a way to tell someone outside, they could be rescued. But how? She wondered, before suggesting maybe they could all line up at the windows and spell it out with their bodies. She quickly retracted her own idea, however, realizing that if they did that, they'd definitely get shot. Anya said it was easy, adding that a spy would simply write it in secret code on microfilm and hide it somewhere in the city. Becky immediately caught on and said she understood, that they could just write it on a piece of paper and throw it out the window instead. After writing, Anya proudly showed her note to Becky, but her handwriting was so messy that Becky pointed out they didn't actually need to write it in secret code. Anya clarified that it wasn't a code, her writing was just messy. She then told Becky to write it instead. Becky agreed and said she'd even add the SOS code their family used for Black Bell emergencies. She added that she would stick the note onto her student ID card so no one would think it was just a random piece of trash. And to make sure someone would notice it when it landed, she said she'd put everything inside the tin can she was holding. Damien noticed what they were doing and threw a crumpled piece of paper at them. When Anya opened it, Damien had written on it asking what they were doing and pointing out that if they did anything stupid, they'd get themselves killed. Damien then signaled for them to stop, but Anya simply threw another crumpled paper at him. When he opened that one, he couldn't make it out because the handwriting was so terrible, which puzzled him greatly. Anya threw another paper, but this time Becky's handwriting was on it, and they told Damien that they knew where the bad guys were going, so they needed to tell their rescuers. It was their only hope. Becky motioned for him to believe them, which made Damien think about it for a moment. Not long after, he tossed the paper back, and Becky was surprised to read that he would make a distraction to give them an opening. Damien then stood up and began walking toward the hijackers, so Becky tried whispering to him asking what he was doing. He replied to let him handle it. He had a plan, which even made Emil wonder what he was up to. He drew Billy's attention as he approached, and even though he was trembling with fear, he told him that he was about to crap his pants. Becky was stunned and thought to herself that that was just as bad a plan as Anya's. Damien even pointed out that when his stomach rumbled, his eyelashes twitched, which made Billy ask when Eden had turned into a moron factory. Becky suddenly realized she had just been sitting there and thought to herself what she was doing. This was their chance. She quickly rolled down the window beside her and whispered to Anya to throw the tin. They managed to toss it outside while Anya muttered the words "rising hope" under her breath. The tin landed by the sidewalk and caught the attention of some passersby. Billy noticed and turned to look at them, and as the kids were closing the window again, he demanded to know what they had done and whether they had thrown something outside. Nervously, Anya just sang a little tune, which only made Billy's expression more serious. One of the women nearby was irritated by the action and complained about what they were teaching school kids these days. A man on the street noticed the object, picked it up, and asked if wasn't that an Eden Academy student ID card. When they saw the note Becky had taped to it, a plea for help asking whoever found it to tell the police and Blackbell that their bus had been hijacked, they immediately raised their voices and called others to look. We cut back to the bus, where Billy grabbed something from his bag and walked toward Anya. When he reached her, he forcefully dragged Anya up, making her cry out, and Becky shouted for him to let her go. He then put something around Anya's neck, a metallic device that wrapped around her, and Anya, bewildered, reached to touch it, but Billy told her not to. He pulled out a remote control and told Anya it was a bomb. He warned that if she tried anything funny again, he'd blow her head off. He added that if anyone else started acting funny, he'd blow her head off. If anyone tried to escape, he'd blow her head off. And of course, he said, if anyone tried to take it off, it would explode. He asked them if they understood, as he called them brats, and said that their dear little classmate's life was in their hands. If any one of them screwed up, she was a goner. In the next scene, we return to the State Security Service office, where the SSS lieutenant approached his SSS superior. While handing over a set of documents, he explained that according to the information they had received from the Blackwell Company, they had ascertained that the perpetrators were members of the Red Circus. It was reported that the buses were currently heading north along Route 1 toward Papier Park. The SSS superior then remarked that even if only a few hostages were to die, or if it became an embarrassment to the police or caused the media to go wild, the suppression of the suspects remained their top priority. He added that the very existence of resistance groups in their country could not be tolerated. After that, he ordered for everything to be covered up, the people, the information, to which the lieutenant just quietly listened. Once their discussion ended, Yuri went to the lieutenant, visibly worried, and informed him that he had heard the bus carrying the Chihuahua girl, referring to Anya, had been hijacked. The captain was puzzled by the name he used and immediately turned to his subordinates, asking who had told him about that matter. He then told Yuri that he knew full well he couldn't show his face at the actual crime scene, pointing out that his sister's child might recognize him. He warned him not to even think about reporting it to City Hall, which made Yuri stutter and respond in a forced tone that he understood. In Yuri's thoughts, he tried to brush it off, convincing himself that he didn't care what happened to Lloyd's daughter. He even thought that he would be happier if she were out of the picture entirely. But as he remembered how much he loved Anya, he felt a sudden chill crawl up his spine. He realized that if Anya were gone, he would be heartbroken. Even though he had been strictly forbidden, he couldn't sit still. Forcing himself to move, he suddenly called out to his captain, asking him to wait. The captain, with an uneasy expression, firmly told him to just follow his orders. After that, the scene shifted to Blackbell Company, where Becky's father was shouting in anger, yelling the code 8814. He furiously informed his subordinates that his daughter had been kidnapped and that her life was in imminent danger. He demanded to know if they were listening, yelling that he wanted every tank and fighter jet in Blackbell storage sent to Route 1 to ensure her safety. Just as he was about to add that he didn't care if they had to raise the entire city, Becky's butler suddenly karate chopped him on the head, scolding him if he was trying to get her killed and telling him not to start a war. Becky's father tried to reason with her, insisting that they were talking about his daughter. Martha, however, said that she understood his emotions but explained that such actions would only provoke the kidnappers further. She added that they needed to handle the situation calmly, stating that she would personally go there herself. Even though Martha appeared calm and composed on the outside, deep down she was filled with worry, silently wishing for her young Mrs. Safety. Afterward, the story returned to the situation inside the bus, where Becky, in sheer panic, exclaimed in disbelief that the object on Anya's neck was a bomb. Billy stared at Anya seriously while Anya, trembling in fear, asked if the thing would decapitate her. The terrified students instinctively pulled away to the corners of their seats, while Becky started crying, shouting that not her Anya, that it couldn't be true. In Billy's mind, he thought to himself that, of course, it wasn't real, which immediately caught Anya's attention and startled her. He explained in his thoughts that the device only needed to look real enough to fool a group of kids, and noted that there weren't any actual explosives inside it. As he told Anya that if she didn't want to die, she should do as he said, he also thought to himself that if that still didn't settle the other children down, he would have no choice but to use his last resort. After realizing this, Anya calmed down and let out a quiet sigh of relief. The fear drained from her body as she sat beside Becky as if nothing had happened. Then, still slightly trembling, she commented that the whole thing had scared the bejeebles out of her for a moment. Now that it was over, she added that she was starting to feel hungry, feeling relief wash over her. Becky and Damien, however, were both utterly shocked, staring at her in disbelief. Becky thought to herself how unbelievable it was that Anya could have such nerves of steel. In Damien's mind, he was bewildered and unable to understand how she could remain so calm despite having a bomb strapped around her neck. He tried to convince himself that Anya always wore that same stupid expression anyway, but the more he thought about it, the more on edge he became. He forced himself to calm down and focus. He started wondering if Anya was really that unflappable, whether she had been raised by an assassin or something. While Anya herself was quietly thinking about her plan B, dumbed-down Damien looked at her in awe, impressed by her composure, and declared that he would invite her to meet his father one day. Hearing that made Anya grin, confusing the classmates nearby, and then she suddenly started tapping the thing strapped around her neck. Becky and Damien were horrified, both thinking she had completely lost her mind. The surrounding classmates were also terrified, each of them shielding themselves while internally shouting for her to stop, wondering what was wrong with her and thinking she must be stupid. Others thought they didn't want to die yet, that if she wanted to, she should at least not drag them along, and they all begged her in their minds to stop screwing around while calling her a moron. Anya could also hear one of them thinking how much they hated her, and with all the noise from the thoughts she was reading, she began to feel dizzy. Becky, noticing this, asked if she was okay. Meanwhile, Damien thought to himself that she was obviously just putting on a show and that Anya probably didn't want the others to be scared. After thinking that, he gathered his courage once again, stood up, and walked toward Billy. Billy looked at him and commented that it was him again, asking if he really wanted to get Anya's head blown off. Damien whispered something to him, which made Billy raise an eyebrow, but then he suddenly raised his voice and shouted that they should attach the bomb to him instead of Anya. Billy stared at him, while Damien continued and identified himself as the son of National Unity Party Chairman Donovan Desmond, proudly stating that everyone likes him, so he was the perfect hostage. He ordered Billy to put the bomb on him instead. Anya blinked in surprise, silently questioning the part where he said everyone likes him, while Emil, deeply worried, told him not to do it. In Damien's thoughts, he firmly declared that he was Damien, the scion of the Desmond family. He believed that one day he would become a politician and protect this country. He reminded himself that his father had fought all kinds of enemies during the war, and he believed that he, too, could stand and fight. Anya watched him closely, seeing his courage, and seemed to draw inspiration from his brave act. Billy rummaged through his bag, praising Damien, saying that he truly had real pluck and that he would honor that courage by putting a bomb on him as well. He immediately followed through with his words and placed another device on him. The bus fell silent as Damien froze, and Billy added that everything here was about equality. Damien was left speechless as he slowly returned to his seat. His friends, visibly terrified, whispered among themselves, wondering what he had just done. Instead of being scared for him, Anya smiled brightly and said that now they matched. Furious, Damien yelled at her, his face red with anger. He scolded himself internally, frustrated by what he had done and why he had tried to save her in such a reckless way. He repeatedly called himself stupid, blushing in embarrassment, but then forced himself to regain composure. He reminded himself that those who lead must protect their companions, even ones like Anya. He thought about how his father must have endured much to live by that ideal, so he should do the same. He tried to think calmly and keep his focus, forcing his mind to stay steady as he wondered silently whether he was going to die. He began trembling again, realizing that his life was now in the hands of terrorists. The thought that his head could blow off at any moment crossed his mind, and he reflected on how, if that happened, he wouldn't be able to become a politician, study, or play soccer anymore. The fear consumed him as he kept repeating in his mind that this was bad, really bad. Terrified beyond words, he admitted to himself that he was scared and even felt like he might wet his pants. He tried desperately to calm himself and hold back tears, but the fear was too strong. Quietly, he called out to his parents in his mind, crying on the inside, saying how scared he was. Then, all of that fear vanished when Anya suddenly reached out and held his hand, telling him it was going to be okay. She gripped his hand tighter and added that he shouldn't be afraid. His eyes widened as he turned toward her. After that, Anya leaned closer and whispered that she had heard the bad guys say that the bombs were fake, so he didn't need to worry. Realizing what was happening, Damien immediately pulled his hand away, blushing and flustered. He shouted, asking what Anya thought she was doing, and pointed out that he hadn't said he was scared. Becky, watching them, remarked in amazement that Anya could be surprisingly grown up at times, which clearly made Anya happy. Feeling proud of herself, Anya started patting her chest, but accidentally hit the metal device instead, making Becky and Damien scream in panic again. Furious, Damien called her a stupid idiot, and Becky agreed, saying she was being a super stupid mega idiot. Before Becky could even finish saying that if the bomb exploded, the bus suddenly shook violently and swayed from side to side, causing the students to scream in terror. Becky burst into tears, shouting that this was exactly why she had called Anya an ultra-mega idiot, while Damien, terrified, shouted that if he died, he would haunt her forever, which made Anya terrified. After several moments, the bus finally stabilized. Becky, wide-eyed, was surprised that they were still alive, while Damien couldn't believe that his head was still attached to his body. He had thought the shaking was caused by the bombs exploding. Billy immediately went up to the driver and called out to him, Vadim, who reported that they had been tricked by the police using a spike strip. Since they could no longer drive, the police who had set the trap quickly moved in on their position. The bus was surrounded by police vehicles, ensuring there was no escape. Armored officers began emerging from their transports, forming a perimeter around the hijacked bus. Seeing them filled Anya and her classmates' happiness and hope. When Billy saw the scene surrounding them, he grew uneasy upon realizing that the Berlin City Police had arrived, and the same nervousness was written on the faces of his companions. Some of the students began asking if the police were already there, and when they looked closely outside, they cried out in joy after confirming that it was indeed the police. They were here to rescue them. Their faces lit up with relief, delighted at the thought that they would finally be going home. Everyone stood up, cheering that they were safe, and began running toward the exit. But suddenly, Billy fired his pistol into the air, the sharp crack freezing the room in terror and shocking the students mid-step. The police outside were also startled by the sound and anxiously asked if what they'd just heard was a gunshot. After firing, Billy aimed his pistol straight at the students and shouted for them not to move, his voice booming with rage and panic, heightening their fear. With irritation, he warned that if they didn't return to their seats within 5 seconds, he would fill them with bullets. The terrified students immediately scrambled back to their seats. Vadim cursed in frustration, angrily wondering how the authorities had managed to get there before them. Their female comrade was just as bewildered, questioning how the police could have pulled that off, while Billy muttered that the kids couldn't have known where they were headed in the first place. Outside the bus, a police officer began using a megaphone, announcing that they are the Berlin police and demanding the hijackers' attention. He declared that they were aware the group had taken control of a bus full of Eden Academy students and urged them to throw out their weapons. Billy turned to Vadim and asked if they could still break through, but Vadim answered in distress that they couldn't with the tires already flat. Billy cursed under his breath, furious, and immediately dug through his bag. Their female accomplice approached to inform him that the SSS forces were advancing from the other direction. Billy groaned in frustration, commenting that those weren't the kind of people who would back off just because they had hostages. He then ordered the students to take the pieces of clothing he was holding and use them to cover the bus windows. Terrified, the students followed his command right away. As they covered the windows, he barked at them to make sure there were no gaps left, warning that if even a sliver of light got through, he'd put a bullet in them. Outside, the police quickly noticed the bus windows being blacked out and began to worry. One of them commented that they wouldn't be able to see what was happening inside anymore, while the officer holding the megaphone added that this also rendered their snipers useless. Then the officer shouted once more, urging Billy to stop this pointless resistance and surrender immediately. Just then, the bus doors suddenly opened, drawing everyone's attention. Billy stepped out, dragging Damien along with him to show to the police. The armored officers grew alarmed, noticing something strapped around Damien's neck, and one of them muttered anxiously if it was a bomb. Billy shouted back that if they interfered, they'd soon find out exactly what they were dealing with. He declared that if pushed, they would bring down every student on this bus, and the others as well. The police demanded to know what his conditions were. Billy raised his gun, gripping Damien by the collar, and announced that they had two demands. The first was the release of all 17 imprisoned Red Circus comrades, and the second was safe passage for them and those freed members to the nation of Nordica. For every comrade released, he said, they would let 5 students go. He further demanded that the authorities prepare a plane for them at Brumbelau Airport and escort them there. After stating his terms, Billy urged the police to do their part so this incident could end without casualties. He then pulled Damien back inside the bus, closed the door, and ignored the officer still trying to negotiate over the megaphone. The officer cursed in frustration and, clearly distressed, asked what they were supposed to do now. Suddenly, a voice from behind him called out, addressing him as commander and telling him to withdraw his forces. When he turned around, he saw agents from the SSS, and with clear irritation, he demanded to know what they were doing there. The man leading them, the captain of the arriving SSS unit, replied that the suspects now fell under their jurisdiction. He explained that they don't negotiate with terrorists and ordered his men to prepare to storm the bus. The police commander immediately called out to stop him, firmly stating that they couldn't allow such action because the safety of the hostages was the top priority. The SSS captain replied that just as it was the police's duty to protect civilians, it was their own duty to protect the nation. He added that capitulating to terrorism would only embolden the West even further, then asked if the police commander was willing to gamble the lives of all his fellow citizens just for a few dozen civilians. This angered the police commander, who pointed a finger at the SSS captain's chest, reminding him that the order from the ministry was to stand by, and that they had no right to interfere with the operation. But the SSS captain only smirked and remarked that if all his hopes were pinned on negotiation, then he might as well be running headfirst into a wall. He added that most of the comrades those hijackers wanted to be freed were already dead. The scene then shifted back inside the bus, where Billy shoved Damien to return to his seat. Vadim urged Billy to toughen up and tell the police that if they didn't comply by sundown, they would start killing the students one by one, a statement that sent chills down everyone's spine. Billy explained that once they gave the authorities a deadline, it would give them an excuse to send in the state security service to storm the bus. He said they would instead wait it out and let the parents of the children be the ones to pressure the government. As Damien walked back to his seat, Emil asked if he was okay, and he blushed in embarrassment, saying he couldn't believe everyone saw him like that. The thought that this might cause trouble for his father worried him, so he decided he needed to do something about it. But before he could, Billy suddenly spoke up, refuting the idea. He told Damien that he had already made Chairman Desmond proud, explaining that staying composed in a situation like this was a real accomplishment. For now, he said, they just had to wait for the grown-ups to rescue them. They were still kids, powerless in this kind of situation, and there was nothing shameful about being saved by adults. Ewan agreed that Bill was right, while Emil added that even their parents could count for that, making Damien blush as he thought about it. He commented that Bill really was a 40-year-old grade schooler, to which Bill grumbled that it was such a rude thing to say. While that was happening, the scene shifted to Y's safe house D, where Sylvia was on the phone with a wise agent with a mustache. They discussed how the bus carrying Anya had been stopped by the police on Route 1. Sylvia explained that as long as they hadn't located the other bus yet, their hands were still tied. The agent on the other end informed her that according to their contact, the kebab guy, he might have seen the bus heading south along Route 113. Sylvia asked if he was certain. The agent replied that the kebab guy mentioned the road wasn't part of any school bus route, so he found it suspicious. Sylvia said she understood and added that she would relay that information to the police. After that, the scene moved to the State Security Service headquarters, where an officer hurriedly approached his chief, holding several documents. He reported that Eden Academy had just sent an anonymous tip to the police about the hijacking. He explained that a suspicious bus had been spotted in the Demforest district and that it might be the one carrying students from Class 5 and 6. Yuri was then shown, tied to a pillar by his captain to stop him from interfering. He overheard the report and it immediately caught his attention. He suddenly shouted to his chief and the other officers, pleading to let him investigate that lead, insisting that he had several reliable informants in that district. In the next scene, Yuri was shown moving on his own. He went to a bar to inform one of his contacts that he was looking for the Eden Academy school bus. He told him that the bus had passed through that street heading in the direction of King's house. The bartender understood and said he would start asking around. He began calling his connections over the phone, and a few moments later, he told Yuri that there had been sightings of the bus in both Nura and Karab. Yuri replied that Fontaine Academy was in Nura, so that one was probably not the bus they were looking for, and he decided to rule it out. The bartender then said the last sighting in Karab was 20 minutes ago near Tailbridge, and there had been no reports since. Yuri thought deeply as he looked at a map showing a checkpoint not far past that area, realizing that driving around too long there would easily attract attention. He also stated that abandoning the bus and traveling by car with 40 children would be an enormous burden. Because of that, he thought there was a high possibility that they had hidden themselves and concealed the bus somewhere nearby. This led him to decide to search the entire area until he found it. After that, the scene shifted back to the bus and the police stationed outside. An SSS officer approached their captain and reported that they had received a message from headquarters. He explained that apparently, they had a lead on Bus B. They were ordered to remain on standby until it was located, and Division 1 has stuck their noses in to argue against taking any drastic measures. The captain clicked his tongue in irritation and called them lapdogs of the political elite. While observing the bus through his binoculars, he remarked that it looked like they were in for a protracted warfare. Inside the bus, some of the students began to fidget, clearly uncomfortable and struggling to hold themselves as they badly needed to relieve themselves. Billy took notice. He then announced that anyone who needed to go should raise their hands. They would do their business in the shrubs beside the bus, one child at a time. When Damien heard where they were supposed to relieve themselves, he grimaced in disgust, while Emile immediately raised his hand, saying he couldn't hold it any longer and really needed to pee. Billy asked if he knew what would happen if he tried to run, to which Emile nervously replied that Damien had a bomb strapped to his neck, so he never even thought of doing that. Billy opened the bus door, which quickly drew the attention of the police outside. As they watched, an SSS officer asked their captain if they should have the snipers take the shot, but he refused, explaining that it wasn't worth it unless they could take down all the culprits at once. Moments later, Emile finished relieving himself in the shrubs. As he adjusted his pants, he blushed and muttered that for Billy's information, it was incredibly embarrassing to do something like that out in the open, which made Billy turn his head toward him. As they walked back to the bus, Billy told him that if something like that was what embarrassed him, then he must have lived a very lucky life. He added that he should thank his parents for that. Not long after, a vehicle arrived at the scene, and Becky's father immediately stepped out and tried to rush toward the bus, shouting for his daughter. Martha quickly stopped him, warning that it wasn't safe for him to leave the car. The officers guarding the area also stopped him, informing him that civilians were not allowed beyond that point. Furious, he shouted that he was the CEO of Black Bell Industries. Martha suddenly heard someone call out to her with a curious tone, and when she turned around, she was shocked to see Henderson. She asked what he was doing there, and Henderson explained that his students were the ones inside. He asked where else he was supposed to be and added that they had just arrived. Martha then asked what good his presence was supposed to do, following it up by asking if he knew how the students were doing. Henderson was taken aback by the question and answered that the children were still inside the bus, and the situation was at a standstill while they waited for the government's response. He added that if the waiting dragged on much longer, he wasn't sure if they could endure it, physically or mentally. Hours passed, and because the children had been sitting inside the bus for so long, they began to sweat and feel extremely uncomfortable. Their teacher, who sat with his hands tied, let out a groan, prompting the student beside him to ask if he was okay. Anya began hearing their thoughts again. Things like how they couldn't take it anymore, how they wished the police would save them, that they were thirsty, exhausted, and wanted to go home. Some wondered what they did to deserve this, or what the police were even doing, and if they were just being stupid. With a tired expression, Becky muttered, wondering if her parents and Martha were already there, while Anya grew dizzy again from the overwhelming noise of everyone's thoughts. Then, Billy stepped out of the school bus once more and asked the police what the council's response was. The police commander replied that they were in the process of releasing 3 prisoners from Privet Correctional Center, explaining that those things take time. In the meantime, he said they wanted to attend to the well-being of the hostages, requesting permission to send food and water to the children. Billy agreed, but on one condition. Only one person would be allowed to deliver it, and that person could not be a cop. He told them to send someone from the school instead, and mentioned that they had someone fitting for the job right behind them. When Becky's father heard this, he seriously said that he would order their family chef to prepare only the finest of meals for the children. Martha, however, asked if he had lost his mind, pointing out that doing so would only antagonize the hostage takers. She also told the police officers that they had field rations inside their vehicle and instructed them to give those to the hostages instead. The officers thanked her for it. A police officer then approached the police commander and volunteered to disguise himself as a faculty member and deliver the food and water to the bus. The police commander agreed, but Henderson interrupted, saying to hold on. He asked what they thought would happen if the hostage takers noticed what they were doing. He then stated that he would go himself, saying that he wished to ease the minds of his students inside. Moments later, Henderson began pushing a trolley filled with field rations. Before he entered the bus, Billy patted him down while Vadim inspected the boxes. Once inside, he immediately caught the children's attention, and they joyfully called out his name in unison. He asked if everyone was all right, and several students tried to run up to him, crying out that they missed him so much. However, Billy's female accomplice stopped them and ordered them back to their seats. Henderson told everyone to calm down. Even now, he said, he expected them to conduct themselves with the dignity of Eden students. He reassured them not to be afraid, promising that they would be rescued. The teacher who had been with the students apologized to him, but before he could explain his role as chaperone, Henderson, deeply concerned, addressed him as the tutor in residence and pleaded with Billy to take him to a hospital. Billy refused, saying that they wouldn't release a single hostage. In response, Henderson said that if that was the case, then Billy should take him in his stead, pointing out that clearly his wizened body is no threat to him. Because of that, they escorted the tutor in residence out of the bus while Vadim tied up Henderson's hands. The geometry teacher looked worried as the tutor in residence was brought toward him, while Martha, observing from outside, wondered what exactly Henderson thought he was doing, calling him a fool under her breath. Then Henderson noticed the devices around Anya and Damien's necks, and with growing alarm, he thought to himself that those were most likely the neck bombs the police had mentioned, and that Miss Forger was wearing one as well. His eyes narrowed with fury, silently cursing Billy and the others as despicable cowards. Billy ordered him to sit down. Henderson then asked if they had distributed the water and rations to every student, but Billy snapped at him not to speak unless told to. Henderson ignored the warning and calmly said that perhaps the students didn't feel like eating, but they needed to force themselves to, as they would need their strength. Unexpectedly, Anya happily cheered that she was so hungry she could eat a whole horse, which stunned Henderson and made him react in amazement on how she has such nerves of steel. He then recalled what she said during her interview, that she ran through forests to become stronger and practiced life and death survival drills to become braver. He gasped, realizing in disbelief that Anya had actually been sincere when she said that. On Becky's side, she noticed that the rations they were given were made by her family's company, bringing tears to her eyes as she realized that meant her father really was outside. Anya, intrigued, wondered aloud if her world domination family had come to rescue them, to which Becky replied that they didn't dominate the world, but they were definitely strong. She even said she'd bet her family would blow these jerks up with tanks, prompting Damien to ask how they wouldn't get caught in the blast if that happened. As they began eating, Damien frowned in disappointment, saying the food was completely flavorless, which Emil and Ewan agreed with. Bill scolded them, saying that this wasn't the time to demand first-class comforts, and Becky sided with him, pointing out that it was her family's company that made the rations, so they should just be quiet. Anya then commented that she had tasted both better and worse than this before. Because of their reactions, Henderson couldn't help but wonder how the children could stay so calm in a situation like this, and whether they even needed him anymore. While the students continued eating and chatting among themselves, Billy quietly observed them, silently studying their behavior. Henderson apologized, then asked Billy if he had a child. Billy's attention turned toward him, and he answered yes, he had a daughter. Henderson appealed to him as a fellow parent, asking that he release the children and allow them to return to their families. As he went on to reason that innocent children should never be caught up in such violence, Billy suddenly interrupted, his expression darkening as he revealed that the state had murdered his daughter. Henderson fell silent, and Billy went on, explaining that his daughter had been one of them. He said that as an educator, Henderson must already know the Red Circus began as a student movement that stood for peace and equality. He went on to say that they only spoke out to defend the weakest members of society. He explained that they were a respectable movement that fought for their cause through respectable means, but it was the state that turned violent against them. And so, he said, he would not take criticism from a member of the establishment, and vowed that they would reap what they had sown, as Henderson quietly listened. While this was happening, the scene shifted to the Dim Forest district, where Yuri discovered bus tire tracks and began following their trail into a fenced warehouse area. He slipped past the fence and carefully climbed a pipeline to peek through a high window vent. When he did, he saw a school bus surrounded by armed men. His expression hardened as he realized that he had finally found them. We then go back to a point in time, showing a part of Billy's past. Here, Billy confronted his daughter, Biddy, scolding her for going to yet another one of those student demonstrations, making her turn to face him. He added that he didn't want her associating with shady characters like that, because it was far too dangerous. Biddy replied that he didn't know what he was talking about, saying there was nothing shady about the Red Circus. Billy pointed out that the last time he heard, people from there were arrested. Biddy reasoned that they hadn't done anything wrong, but Billy said that was beside the point. He told her the government had been cracking down hard on protests, and if she wasn't careful, she could get hurt, or worse. After expressing that, he added that he worried about her, to which Biddy said she wasn't afraid. She insisted that she wasn't afraid to die for what she knew was right, but living in a world where they weren't allowed to criticize what was wrong, that, she said, was what truly scared her. She went on to say that so many people were suffering at the moment because of the government's negligence. Billy told her she was still a kid who didn't understand anything, and that the real world wasn't that simple. Biddy scoffed at his words, turned around, and continued walking away, saying that if that was all he had to say, then he was the enemy too. Billy calmly replied that he was only trying to keep their family safe, then asked what was so wrong with that, making Biddy stop and glance back at him for a moment. A few hours after Biddy left home, Billy received a call. When he went to see what it was about, he was met with the sight of Biddy's lifeless body, one of the casualties from the protest's aftermath. A member of the Red Circus consoled him there, offering sympathy. He told Billy that at least he was able to recover her body, since not everyone was that lucky. He added that as her father, Billy had already been marked by the SSS, but the circus could help him escape from the country if he wanted. After that, the scene returned to the present, where Billy stared at the two sleeping schoolgirls beside him, seemingly reminded of his daughter as he watched them. On Anya's side, she could hear Billy's thoughts as he remembered those moments. Vadim, clearly irritated, then asked Billy how much longer they were going to sit there doing nothing. He suggested that if they wanted to break this deadlock, their best bet would be to have Bruce start moving with the second bus, then ordered Billy to get a hold of him. Billy responded that they were avoiding radio contact to keep their location hidden and pointed out that their hostages were their trump card now. After that, the scene shifted to the warehouse where Billy's comrades were hiding, keeping watch over the other bus. There, Yuri called in a few more of his SSS comrades for support. One of them reported that there were 6 armed targets inside. He remarked that the suspects probably knew the other bus had already been surrounded, yet they weren't being cautious at all. He ordered the others to wait until all 6 of them had stepped outside the bus, saying that would be their opening. He also mentioned that the man with the beard seemed to be their leader, instructing the team to deal with the others and not let anyone have a chance to radio out any message. Soon after, the surrounding teams, including the Berta and Cassar teams, confirmed they were ready and that all the bus windows were shut. Once they received that information, an agent on site announced that all teams were in position and ordered them to prepare the tear gas. After putting on their gas masks, they executed the plan. As soon as Yuri pulled the pin on a tear gas bomb, his team immediately opened fire on the 2 men positioned on either side of Bruce, completely catching him off guard. Bruce instantly realized that the cops had arrived, but before they could react again, Yuri threw the tear gas bomb, and smoke spread rapidly throughout the area. Because of that, the enemies started choking and lost visibility. When one of them tried to order the others to retreat into the bus and use the children as hostages, he was immediately shot down by an SSS agent who declared, "Resistance confirmed." Bruce managed to grab onto the bus door, cursing in panic, but before he could pull it open, Yuri caught his wrist and landed a powerful punch straight to his face. Yuri expressed his irritation at how a man like him could hide behind a bunch of children, but before he could finish his words, he suddenly got shot in the left arm, completely catching him off guard. Even so, he endured the pain and immediately countered with a powerful knee strike to Bruce's body, as if he hadn't been injured at all, remarking bitterly about how real mature that move was. Moments later, they managed to eliminate all of their enemies there. One of Yuri's fellow SSS agents quickly reported that the hostages' safety had been confirmed and ordered the Berta team to perform an area sweep as a precaution. He also informed everyone that one of their own was wounded, and soon after, Yuri's loud voice echoed through the area as he screamed in pain. Crying out, he yelled that he had told the medic to treat him gently, while one of his comrades told him to just hold still. Frustrated by his luck, Yuri shouted in agony, questioning why he had to suffer like this. And for Chihuahua Girl, of all people, his comrade continued treating him while Yuri, now teary-eyed, kept pleading for him to be gentler. It was then explained to us that when he lacked motivation, Yuri had an absurdly low threshold for pain. After that, the story returned to the situation with the first bus. An SSS agent reported to their captain that their squad had stormed the other bus, and according to them, every hostage had been successfully rescued, prompting the captain to ask if that was really true. The agent added that the news might light a fire under some elite butts. Meanwhile, the police commander was seen speaking with another officer, to whom he responded respectfully that he understood, while addressing him as Sir. After the call ended, the police commander informed them that he had received orders to transfer command of the situation to the SSS captain, and that he'll need him to sign the paper he was giving. The SSS captain thanked him for his cooperation and assured him that they would resolve the situation shortly. The police commander then said it would be best to lay the groundwork to claim that they had attempted a peaceful resolution. Soon after, the SSS captain addressed Billy through a megaphone, saying confidently that he trusted Billy could hear him. Without hesitation, he announced that all of Billy's comrades from the other bus were dead, immediately drawing everyone's attention. He added that it seemed their plan had been a rather poor one, and that it was only a matter of time before they caught the rest of their accomplices who had fled from Papier Park. He warned them that if they didn't want to meet the same fate as their friends, they should throw down their weapons and surrender, stating that they had until dawn to consider it carefully. The students inside the bus began whispering anxiously among themselves while the terrorists showed visible signs of panic. Vadim grew furious, unable to accept what was happening, repeatedly cursing under his breath. Billy muttered that they had failed, but his female comrade shouted that he couldn't give up so easily. Vadim agreed, trying to snap him out of his thoughts. They reminded him of their mission, to rescue their friends, revive the circus, and teach this corrupt country a lesson. One of them even asked what his daughter would say if she saw him like this, making Billy freeze in silence. He finally admitted that they were right, while Vadim yelled that there was no way they were going to surrender. In Vadim's mind, He thought to himself that Billy was completely shaken, no longer of any use to them, and not someone they could rely on anymore. If worse came to worst, Vadim decided he would be the one to do it himself, glancing over at the bag beside the driver's seat. He thought that he had never imagined things would get so bad that they'd actually have to use their last resort, but here they were. He then declared that he would blow up the bus, along with all the hostages inside it. Anya heard those thoughts, which immediately caught her attention and made her panic upon realizing that there was an actual bomb on board. Meanwhile, Vadim thought that ideally, he would have preferred to ram the state council building first, but he decided he would instead time the blast to blow away the strike force once they stormed in. Anya's face showed deep worry as she listened to his thoughts. Anya then heard someone from outside ordering his men to kill every last one of them, calling their targets a plague on the country, which made her turn toward the source of the voice. Outside, it was shown that the SSS captain had already deployed several armored personnel equipped with breaching tools in preparation to storm the bus, which shocked the police commander. The SSS captain ordered them to get ready to storm in, but the police commander rushed toward him in protest, yelling for him to wait, pointing out that he had just said the terrorists had until dawn. The captain countered by asking if he really thought those men were considering his offer. He firmly declared that they would strike under the cover of night, and that he was done playing games with those lunatics. Right after, he commanded the armored guards to move into position, instructing all teams to minimize hostage casualties, to which they responded in unison with a yes, sir. The guards took up their positions around the area, while Anya, reading their thoughts, grew more anxious as she realized the secret police were getting closer and closer. She panicked, unable to sit still, thinking hard about what she should do, knowing that if the bad guys found out, they'd blow everyone up without hesitation. She thought deeply, and even though she was nervous, Anya decided to take action. She stood up from her seat, catching Damien's attention. He tried to call out to her, but she ignored him and bravely stood in front of the bad guys. While that was happening, we go to Yor, who had decided to call Eden Academy to ask about Anya's situation. Since it was already late at night, she explained that her daughter still hadn't come home. She informed the person on the other end of the line that Anya was her child and that she was a first-year student in Class 3. The person she spoke to replied that the field trip had run longer than expected. Upon hearing that, Yor hesitated to agree, but eventually said that if they were sure, then that's fine, and she thanked them before ending the call. Afterward, she sat down on their couch but couldn't calm her nerves. The growing worry made her uneasy. Because of this, she immediately stood up again and quickly called one of her coworkers. After confirming that it was Sharon she was speaking to, Yor asked about the field trip and how things went with their children. Sharon, puzzled, told her that her child had already come home hours ago, something that left Yor completely shocked and alarmed. Sharon then added that according to what they had been told, the field trip had actually been canceled, or maybe it was just canceled for their class, which only made Yor cry out in confusion and panic. After that, we returned to Anya's bus, where the SSS captain could be heard giving orders to the armored troops. He commanded that if possible, they should capture the ringleader, Billy Squire, alive, but if it came down to it, they were to kill everyone. He then ordered them to prepare to strike. Meanwhile, the Red Circus members looked visibly worried. Vadim thought to himself that if the police rushed toward the bus, he'd blow up the entire thing sky high. Because of this, Anya became increasingly anxious, thinking that if she didn't do something, they would all be blown to bits. She stood up again, looking intently at Billy, catching his attention. He asked her if she needed to pee and told her to hold it in. However, Anya froze and couldn't say a word, thinking to herself that she probably should have figured out what to say before she stood up. In her mind, she considered yelling that a bunch of big, strong men were about to charge the bus so the hijackers should surrender, but then she imagined that would only panic them and make them decide to blow up the bus immediately. She even pictured the aftermath of the explosion, where all of them would end up as angels floating in the sky, which terrified her even more. Because of that, she stopped herself again and thought that she definitely couldn't say that. Henderson, noticing her standing there, asked what she was doing and told her to sit down. Running out of ideas, Anya suddenly said with a serious face that she was hungry again, asking if they could get more of those rations, or as she called them, rachons. She decided to say that because she realized the police held back when they were eating earlier, so maybe they just needed to do that again. Her unexpected request completely stunned Billy and Vadim, as well as Becky, Damien, and even Henderson. They were all utterly dumbfounded, thinking that Anya didn't have nerves of steel, but nerves of tungsten. Billy then asked who she thought she was. He raised the remote for the collar bomb again and asked if she didn't hear him. Just as he was about to say that if she didn't want her head to get blown off, she should sit down, Anya cut in and declared that she wasn't afraid of it. With newfound courage shining in her eyes, she said she wasn't afraid of the bomb, thinking to herself that it was because she knew it was fake. She added that what scared her was dying without speaking up, silently finishing the thought in her mind, due to getting blown up. Billy's eyes widened in shock at her words, and he suddenly remembered what his daughter, Biddy, once said to him before leaving for a red circus rally, that she wasn't afraid to die for what she knew was right. Because of that, Billy began to see his daughter in Anya, which shook him to his core. Henderson tried to calm Anya down, assuring her that she would be fine. He said she wouldn't get hurt just by missing one meal. But Anya firmly replied that they wouldn't be fine. If they didn't take action, none of them would be okay. Henderson then asked her if she really believed that everyone there was that hungry. At that moment, Billy started to recall his daughter's words, how she once told him that he should see how many people were suffering right now, that at this rate, they wouldn't survive through the winter, and that she wouldn't stop even if it cost her life. Because of everything that happened, Billy began to shudder as he told her to stop and just keep quiet. Just as Anya was about to mimic what she heard in Billy's thoughts, about how Biddy wouldn't sit down even if it cost her her life, Billy suddenly grabbed her by the shirt and shouted at her to shut up right now. She screamed because of the sudden pulling, while Henderson yelled at him to let her go. Billy then removed the metal collar from her neck and shoved her away, ordering her to get off the bus, saying she was free and should just leave. Vadim was stunned by his actions and demanded to know what he was doing, asking if he had gone mad. In his mind, Billy thought in frustration that Anya was making him lose his resolve, while Anya, on the other hand, thought that Billy didn't want to do bad things while she was there. Because of that, she decided to shout that she wasn't going to get off. Her words left Billy, Vadim, and Henderson completely shocked. Billy couldn't believe she was refusing freedom, while Henderson asked in disbelief what she was doing and if she had lost her mind too. Billy angrily pointed out that she's one of the elite bourgeoisie, who already has everything, so why does she need to care about anyone else? He then yelled at her to get out of the bus, but as he said that, he began to question what was wrong with these children. He remembered how Damien insisted that the bomb be attached to him instead, and how Emile said that he never once thought about escaping because the bomb was tied to Damien. Then Anya shouted that she wasn't getting off and wanted to eat more rations, which made Damien think to himself how awful those rations tasted. He wondered why she would even want more, and in the back of his mind, he added that if she got off the bus, she'd be able to eat how much she wanted. Meanwhile, Billy began to question whether he had made a mistake. Because of Anya's actions, Billy found himself deeply shaken and worried, wondering if the children weren't getting enough to eat at home. He thought that she seemed more afraid of starving than of being blown up, which made Anya blush in embarrassment. Billy then remarked that he thought Eden Academy was meant exclusively for the upper-class elite. This made him wonder uneasily if Anya was trying to tell him that everyone was struggling, and he was shocked by the idea that even the Desmond family might be in the same situation. He began to question whether Donovan Desmond had truly fallen that far after losing power. He even wondered if Ostania's economy had completely collapsed while he'd been hiding abroad, and if even these children were now suffering from food shortages. And despite all that, here was Anya, willing to risk having her head blown off for the sake of her classmates. After thinking all this through, he asked Anya why she cared so much about everyone's food, and if any of the other students had forced her to do it. Anya paused to think and seemed to recall something from the cartoons she watched, from her thoughts about Desmond and his father, about Lloyd, and about Yor. Then, with a confident tone, she told Billy that it was because she wanted to create a world where children didn't need to cry. Billy was completely stunned upon hearing that, just like Damien and Henderson. The three of them thought that what Anya said was unbelievably noble. though at the same time, they couldn't help but note that she was a child herself. Billy then asked her if by saying that, she meant that by him labeling them as the elite, he was actually the one perpetuating inequality. The thought unsettled him, while Vadim got irritated by him, who asked what the hell was wrong with him. Vadim suddenly pointed his gun at Anya, but Henderson immediately leaped in front of her. Vadim angrily asked Billy if he had forgotten his own daughter. If he wanted equality, then he should let the bastards know the pain of losing a child. Because of that, Billy replied that he could never forget his daughter, but deep down, he asked himself if that was still true, or if perhaps he really had forgotten her. He agreed with Vadim's earlier words, admitting that yes, maybe he had indeed forgotten. His mind flashed back to the past, to the day his daughter Biddy came home covered in scratches and wounds. Overcome with worry, he immediately approached her and asked what had happened. Biddy explained that she had been feeding the stray cats in their neighborhood, but things got messy when the bigger cats kept trying to steal food from the smaller ones. When she tried to stop them, she ended up getting scratched all over. Billy gently told her that that's simply how the animal world works, that the strong survive, and that she should just leave them be. Biddy nodded in understanding, admitting that she knew she was meddling in their world. But Biddy added that even though she understood that, she just couldn't bear to hear anyone cry. Billy stared at her in silence for a moment, quietly taking in the kindness that came so naturally from her heart. However, the calm between them was broken when he suddenly realized something. He immediately asked Biddy if the food she had fed the cats came from their own pantry. Biddy only gave him a mischievous grin, making Billy sigh and shake his head. He told her not to laugh like that and reminded her that they barely had enough food for themselves. He face-bombed and muttered in exasperation that they were back to this again, his voice carrying both frustration and weariness. But Biddy only smiled and said that, if anything, it was his fault, because he was the one who taught her to be that way. She said he was the one who always told her things like be a giver, not a taker, and help each other up, don't hold each other down. And for his information, she said, she was proud of the person she had become because of him. After recalling all of that, Billy thought to himself that he had never truly forgotten his daughter. He had only pretended to keep his anger, his reason to live, from melting away. He then turned his gaze toward Anya, who met his eyes with a calm and steady expression. Vadim told him that they didn't have time to waver, but before Vadim could fire his pistol, Billy suddenly grabbed it from him, startling him completely. Billy also picked up a bag beside the driver's seat and began walking toward the door, leaving Vadim confused. As he stepped off the bus, the police immediately noticed him, and the SSS captain ordered all units to hold their positions, announcing that X1 had exited the bus. While walking toward the officers, Billy thought to himself that the Red Circus's methods had always been wrong. He had never deluded himself about that, but at the same time, he had done nothing to stop them. Even so, he couldn't just stand by and let his daughter die a second time. He wanted to still be able to call himself her father. As he thought this, he dropped the 2 bags he was carrying and tossed his pistols toward the police, shocking everyone around. He then raised his hands and declared that he was surrendering. His action left his comrades, Henderson, and even the police and the SSS members completely stunned. One of his female comrades tried to reason with him, urging him to pull himself together and return to the bus immediately. But Billy didn't listen. Instead, he told the police that he was the sole planner of the operation. He claimed that he had coerced the other 2 into joining him, asking the authorities to be lenient with them. His female comrade fell silent, while Vadim was trembling with rage, repeatedly thinking to himself that this couldn't be happening. Refusing to accept surrender, Vadim quickly jumped into the driver's seat, furiously declaring that he wasn't going to let this happen. He shifted the gear stick into drive and slammed the gas pedal. Even though the bus's tires were flat, it managed to lurch forward, startling both Billy and their female companion. Billy shouted for Vadim to stop, but it was too late. The bus barreled ahead and crashed straight into the police vehicles blocking the road. The police commander immediately shouted to signal the armored units to engage. Without wasting any time, 2 armored vehicles swiftly moved in front of the bus, causing Vadim to panic. The bus slammed into the moving metal barricades, bringing it to an abrupt halt and throwing everyone inside off balance. Vadim tried to restart the bus, but it was completely stuck. No matter how hard he tried, it wouldn't move. Frustrated, he decided to take another approach, grabbing Anya, who had fallen to the floor, and shouting that he wouldn't let the authorities take him. He ran out of the bus carrying the screaming Anya in his arms, prompting both Henderson and Becky to shout in alarm and worry. One of the armored police officers quickly reported that Suspect 3 was on the run, and the SSS captain ordered to shoot to kill. However, the police commander immediately yelled for them to stop, warning that they might hit the child. Vadim then began swinging Anya in front of him, using her as a human shield while shouting for the police to back off and drop their weapons. One of the SSS agents muttered that they should just take the shot, and before his partner could respond with "Roger that," someone suddenly leapt onto the agent's head, using it as leverage to propel herself into the air and gain a higher vantage point. This movement caught Vadim's attention. When he and Anya looked up, they saw that it was Martha, armed with a taser gun. Seizing her opportunity, Martha pulled the trigger, and the taser's probes shot toward Vadim, striking him squarely in the arm. Electricity surged through his body instantly, causing him to drop Anya as his body convulsed uncontrollably. Before Anya could hit the ground, Martha quickly caught her in her arms and asked if she was hurt. Shocked but relieved, Anya looked up at her and quickly remembering her as Becky's lady person, prompting Martha to gently correct her and introduce herself as Martha Marriott. Everyone around turned their attention to them, but moments later, the police commander shouted for all suspects to be arrested. Armored police and SSS agents immediately moved in to secure the area. As Billy's group was being handcuffed, Anya excitedly told Martha that her zap gun was awesome. Martha smiled and explained that it was a new kind of taser developed by Black Bell Industries. A few moments later, a police officer reported that the bus was clear and that all hostages had been screened and accounted for. All the students were safely evacuated from the bus, and Becky ran toward Anya and Martha in tears. Before being taken to the police car, Billy glanced back at them for a brief moment before looking away. Soon after, breaking news aired. A reporter announced a shocking incident that had occurred that morning. 2 buses full of Eden Academy students had been hijacked by a group known as the Red Circus. He added that law enforcement had quickly gained control of the situation and that all suspects were now in custody. Fortunately, none of the student hostages had been seriously injured. In the next scene, we shift to Eden Academy, where a grand ceremony was being held. All of the teachers and faculty members had gathered, with the Eden Master of Ceremonies standing before them. His assistant presented him with a box, and when he opened it, it revealed 4 smaller boxes inside. After that, he called upon 4 students to stand and step forward, and they began walking toward him. He named Anya Forger, a first-year student of Cecile Hall, Becky Blackbell, who was in the same class, Damian Desmond, also from the same class, and Bill Watkins, another first-year but from Wald Hall. The Master of Ceremonies announced to everyone that during the recent bus hijacking incident, these 4 students managed to stay calm and clear-headed to support their fellow classmates during the crisis, helping bring the situation to a swift resolution without anyone getting hurt. He added that as reward for their courage, wisdom, and strength of spirit, each of them would be awarded a Stella Star. He then opened the smaller boxes, and as the light of the stars shimmered around the hall, the other students burst into applause, celebrating their achievement. After the ceremony, their schoolmates cheered with excitement. Bill was moved to tears of joy upon receiving his very first Stella and said that he was overwhelmed with emotion, to which Becky agreed, saying she felt exactly the same. Anya, meanwhile, smugly remarked that she totally saw this coming, while Damien didn't look pleased at all, saying he didn't really do much to deserve such a reward. Emil and Ewan tried to cheer him up, saying that his crap my pants ruse helped them get rescued, but Damien only told them to just stop talking. Becky then squealed in excitement, asking if they had heard that one of the newspapers wanted to interview them, and wondered aloud if they could believe it, because that meant they could all become super famous, to which Anya just looked at her with confusion. Henderson explained to them that the interview request had been declined for the sake of student safety, and the authorities had made it clear that they were not to discuss the incident publicly. Mr. Green added that he was sure the State Security Service wouldn't want a bunch of kids stealing their glory, which made Anya glance at him curiously, while Becky, sounding disappointed, said she was planning to use that interview to launch her singing career, causing Damien to look at her awkwardly. Henderson then remarked that he had to say, it was nothing short of a miracle that they had emerged from such a dire situation without a single child harmed. The scene then shifted back to the incident, where police and SSS agents began their operation to arrest all suspects. The police commander ordered all snipers to stand down once Billy and the others were apprehended, instructing them to take the suspects to Station 13. As the students exited the bus, many of them broke down crying, finally releasing all the fear, tension, and relief they had bottled up. Meanwhile, a group of bomb specialists approached Damien and successfully removed the metal collar attached to him. One of them told him that he was safe now, saying it must have been terrifying to have that thing strapped around his neck. Though still trembling, Damien tried to act brave, declaring that he wasn't just some ordinary kid. He was a Desmond, and they didn't let small things like that scare them. The bomb specialists chuckled and humored him, telling him he could leave the bus now, while one of them noticed that the metal collar bomb had actually been fake all along. Soon after, an SSS agent reported to his captain that all hostages had been confirmed safe. The captain replied that it was good to hear and ordered the information blackout to be lifted. The police commander then instructed the Eden faculty members present to contact the students' guardians and have them come pick up their children, also informing them that the students would need to be interviewed again by the police in the coming days. The geometry teacher immediately acknowledged and complied. During this, Henderson spoke to the students and informed them that all dorm residents would be given homestay passes for the night. Then, Becky suddenly heard her father shouting her name as he ran toward her. Overcome with emotion, he immediately embraced her tightly, crying tears of joy as he said how glad he was that she was safe, while Becky smiled brightly and hugged him back, delighted to finally see her daddy again. She asked where her mommy was, and her father explained that he would never bring her to a dangerous place like this. He told her that her mother was at home, worried sick, and invited her to go back so they could ease her mother's mind. Becky cheerfully agreed and said okay. As they walked toward their car, Becky waved at Anya with a bright smile, and Anya happily waved back. Moments later, the parents of the other students began arriving as well, embracing their children tearfully upon reunion, each one crying with joy and relief that their sons and daughters were safe. After retrieving their children, they all returned to their cars and left with smiles and gratitude. While all this was happening, Anya stood quietly, observing the scene. She then noticed that Damien was still there, waiting alone for his parents to pick him up. Damien looked at her curiously and asked what exactly was going through her mind. He suddenly remembered how she had held his hand during the hijacking and told him that everything would be okay, not to be afraid. That memory made his heart skip and his face flush red. He told her that she really was incredible, admitting that he had teased her a lot before and perhaps owed her an apology for it. Hearing that, Anya looked at him and cheerfully told him that he was super cool too. She enthusiastically explained that when he asked the bad guys to put her bomb collar on him instead, that was such a hero move. Damien was caught completely off guard, his face turning bright red as he flusteredly backed away, shouting that it wasn't a big deal and that anyone would have done the same thing. He stammered for a moment, then added that friends look out for each other like that. Anya stared blankly at him at first, processing what he said, but then it suddenly hit her. What he meant was that her friendship scheme had succeeded. Overjoyed, she burst out yelling that they were officially friends now. Because of that, she proudly began bragging that it seemed like she and Damien were besties already, apologizing to her mama in her thoughts for losing this round, since she clearly won. Damien, confused by her sudden behavior, stopped and asked what she was even talking about, pointing out that he never said they were besties. But Anya ignored him and confidently declared that she'd be coming over to his house tomorrow. Damien was left speechless, asking her what for. Nervously swallowing, Anya reasoned that friends usually visit each other's homes to play, introduce their parents, and talk about world peace and other stuff. Damien immediately pointed out that friends don't just invite themselves over, nor do they introduce their parents and talk about world peace. He went on to say that he believed the only thing she cared about was the prestige of the Desmond name, and he couldn't believe he had fallen for that. regretting that he ever considered her a friend. Shocked, Anya gasped, but Damien quickly added that, in the end, what did it even matter? He gestured toward the empty space and said that nobody had even come to pick him up. So what was the point of trying to get close to him when he barely had any relationship with his own parents? Seeing this, Anya quietly looked at him and gently patted his back to comfort him, which made Damien blush again. He awkwardly pointed out that, in any case, her parents weren't there either. The police commander then approached and told them that if their parents hadn't arrived yet, they would be sent home in a car, causing Anya to shout with excitement at the thought of riding in a police car. However, before they realized it, someone was rushing toward them at incredible speed, loudly calling out Anya's name. Moments later, they saw that it was Yor, sprinting at full speed. She nearly ran past Anya before stopping abruptly upon spotting her, exclaiming in relief that she had finally found her. Anya turned and cried out joyfully, "Mama!" as Yor ran to her, trembling with worry but overjoyed that her daughter was safe. Yor explained that she had been searching everywhere after hearing the news, which confused and baffled the police commander, who realized she had literally run all the way there. Yor anxiously asked question after question. If Anya was hurt, if she was sure she was okay, if she had been stabbed, shot, crushed, or torn to shreds, leaving Anya staring blankly at her while Damien sighed at Yor's over-the-top behavior. Anya finally answered that she was fine, but as the words left her mouth, she began to tremble, her chest tightening until tears welled up in her eyes. She broke down crying, finally releasing all the fear and pain she had been holding in, as the full weight of what she had endured sank in at last. Not long after, Anya ran straight into Yor's arms, bursting into tears as she hugged her tightly. Yor immediately embraced her back, comforting her gently and telling her that everything was fine now, that there was nothing to fear anymore, and apologizing for not being able to come sooner to save her. Anya continued crying uncontrollably while Henderson, watching from the side with a smile, commented that this was an age-appropriate response to what she had gone through, saying it was a relief to see her react like a normal child rather than having tungsten nerves. Damien, meanwhile, scoffed and remarked smugly that she wasn't so tough after all. Off to the side, two armored SSS agents were talking. One of them wowed and commented that he never imagined this would wrap up without an assault from the strike team. It turned out that the two were the wise agent with the mustache and Lloyd himself. The agent then remarked that it seemed Lloyd had rushed all the way there for nothing. Anya, upon overhearing them, gasped in surprise. Her papa was there too. Lloyd let out a sigh and said that although he didn't know exactly what had happened, what mattered was that everything had ended safely, so he decided to head home. He added that being surrounded by SSS agents wasn't doing his stomach any favors, prompting his partner to teasingly ask if he wasn't going to have the usual tearful reunion with his daughter. Lloyd explained that Dr. Lloyd Forger was supposed to be on a business trip and it would be impossible for him to have returned already. Showing up now would only raise suspicion. He then added that when he got home, he'd simply whip up Anya's favorite dinner or something, to which the other agent casually replied, "Suit yourself." Because of that, Anya smiled to herself, thinking excitedly that she was going to get hamburger steak. Yor, meanwhile, turned toward Damien and asked if he was indeed Damien Desmond. She mentioned that she had seen Melinda's car on her way there and had run past it, which caught Damien's attention. Yor then added that Melinda should be arriving any minute. Moments later, Melinda's car pulled up and Yor pointed out that she was there. Anya, however, suddenly grew tense because she saw her as her mama's friendship scheme partner and her rival. Melinda rushed out of her car and ran toward her son, calling his name in panic. Seeing this, Damien trembled and began to cry as he called out for his mother. Melinda knelt and wrapped her arms tightly around him, overwhelmed with emotion and relief, while Damien, surprised, could barely believe that his mother had actually come for him. Melinda told him, of course she had come for him, calling him silly, and apologized for being late, explaining that she had only just heard the news. Anya tried reading Melinda's thoughts as the woman wept and expressed her happiness that Damien was safe. What she heard were words overflowing with genuine love and affection for her son. The overwhelming wave of tenderness made Anya think of her uncle Yuri, and she sighed internally, slightly annoyed, thinking this was just like him again, while Yor simply smiled warmly at the touching sight. As tears still streamed down his face, Damien insisted to his mother that he wasn't scared at all, just upset that he didn't get to see the museum. Melinda chuckled softly and told him he didn't have to act tough for her. Then, hesitantly, Damien asked his mother if she could please not tell his father that he cried because he didn't want to worry him. At that, Melinda's smile faded, replaced by a cold, grim look. Inwardly, she thought she never should have come here, something that immediately caught Anya's attention. Melinda quickly straightened up and, in a slightly altered tone, told Damien that of course she wouldn't tell his father, to which Damien quickly noticed something. But in exchange, Melinda said, he absolutely must not tell his father that she had come here. At the same time, Anya began hearing the dark, twisted thoughts swirling in Melinda's mind, wishing that Damien had just died in the hijacking while simultaneously showering him with affection. Her mind wavered violently between extremes, relief that he was safe and disgust that she was burdened with him, admiration for his bravery yet repulsion for his presence. In her thoughts, Melinda called him her treasure and her curse, saying that when they got home, she'd cook for him since it had been so long, yet in the same breath prayed that he wouldn't stay with her anymore. She thought about how much she adored him, then followed it with how little she actually cared. The stark contrast of emotions left Anya frozen in shock, her eyes wide as she struggled to process the unsettling duality she had just witnessed within Melinda Desmond's mind. In the next scene, we move to the Forger household, where Anya was joyfully celebrating having earned another Stella Star while eating. Yor reminded her to make sure she finishes all her green peppers, but Anya proudly replied that Starlight Anya doesn't need to eat anything she doesn't like, prompting Lloyd to question since when that became a rule, and then ordered her to just eat them. He explained to her that while they were proud she received a Stella Star, it wasn't because of the reckless way she defied those violent criminals. Yor agreed, pointing out that what she did was extremely dangerous, to which Anya commented that Mr. Henderson had told her the same thing. Lloyd then mentioned that the report said she demanded food from her captors, and Anya explained that it was because she was hungry at the time. Yor, misunderstanding the situation, grew worried and apologized, thinking that the breakfast she cooked that morning must have lacked proper nutrition, blaming herself for it. After eating, Lloyd stood up and changed clothes, telling Anya that she had school that day. He told her to finish her meal, get dressed, and that he would take her there, to which she agreed. In his mind, Lloyd reflected that although Anya seemed fine, she must have endured unimaginable trauma from what happened, so they needed to treat her with patience and care. A few moments later, while riding in the car on their way to Eden Academy, Anya remarked that her papa's car looked really old and shabby, smaller and more cramped than a bus, adding that Becky's car was roomy and shiny. Lloyd immediately told her to quiet down, visibly exasperated, thinking to himself that he was operating on a wise budget. He also wondered if maybe Anya wasn't traumatized at all, judging by how she was acting. Anya then mentioned that the other day, she and her mama rode in a police car and that it was super fast and really fun. Lloyd replied with interest and asked if the police had took them home. He then apologized for not being able to come and pick them up himself, to which Anya said it was fine, while secretly thinking that she already knew he was there. A moment later, Anya spotted a family walking along the sidewalk and called Lloyd's attention. He asked her what it was, and she asked if families who come to pick up their children from school mean that they love them more. Lloyd was caught off guard at first, but then answered that, well, he supposed that could be the case, thinking that given the situation, that was probably what most people would believe. He then asked her why she brought that up. Anya remembered what Damien had said to her about his relationship with his parents, how it seemed like they barely had any connection, and how his mother, Martha, acted when she came to pick him up. She recalled watching them enter their car after the whole incident and thought to herself that Damien's family was pretty weird, while Lloyd noticed the expression on her face as she pondered it. Because of Anya's question, Lloyd began to wonder if she resented him for not picking her up himself and concluded that it might indeed be the reason. He thought about how many days Anya must have spent at the orphanage, watching parents come to take other children home, realizing that such memories could have left deep emotional scars on her. He added that if he couldn't help her overcome that, it might become an obstacle to his mission, but then he gripped the steering wheel tightly, worried, wondering how he was supposed to do that. Anya, hearing all of this, decided to use it to her advantage. She told Lloyd that she felt like what would really help her feel better today was a slice of cake. Lloyd immediately responded that if that was the case, they would get one after school and pick out the best cake they could find, which made Anya cheer with joy. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to Eden Academy. Inside the teacher's lounge, Henderson greeted the tutor in residence with a good morning as he poured tea and asked if he had recovered from their recent ordeal. The tutor, a bit embarrassed, replied that he believed so, though he admitted that sometimes he still experienced flashbacks and would start trembling. Henderson then offered to introduce him to an excellent psychiatrist if he wanted, referring, of course, to Lloyd. The tutor thanked him but insisted that their focus should be on the students, not on himself, which Henderson agreed with, although he added that they must not neglect their own mental health if they hope to properly support the children. Speaking of which, the tutor mentioned that he understood yesterday's parents' briefing hadn't gone very well. Henderson explained that since the secret police were present, it wasn't exactly an environment where anyone could feel comfortable speaking openly. Of course, the parents and children had every right to feel anxious and angry, Henderson explained, adding that it was their duty as faculty members to support the students in overcoming the ordeal, to which the tutor agreed. After that, the scene shifted outside the academy, where students were arriving one after another, this time being dropped off by their own family cars. Damien soon arrived, and as he stepped out, his butler wished him to have a good day at school. He happened to arrive at the same time as Emil and Ewan, who immediately called out to him and greeted him good morning, commenting that it felt strange to be driven to school in their family cars. Emil then asked if he had a good time with his family and pointed out that it had been quite a while since he last spent time with them. Because of that, Damien began to recall what happened at their home after the incident. While eating alone at their dining table, he had asked his butler, Jeeves, if his mother would be joining them. Jeeves replied that she had already returned to her own residence, which Damien didn't pay much attention to at first. Jeeves then looked at him and suddenly spoke, catching his attention. He said that it might not be his place to say this, and that Damien should just consider it as him talking to himself. But every single dish served on the table had been cooked personally by his mother. Damien's eyes widened upon hearing that, and a small, soft smile appeared on his face as he quietly murmured, "I see." After recalling that, and while trying hard not to show even the slightest hint of joy, he simply told Emil that things were just the same as usual, prompting Ewan to comment that it was good to hear. Emil then complained that he still couldn't believe they had to go back to the strict dorm life so soon. As they chatted, a female student suddenly greeted Damien with a cheerful good morning, which made the three of them stop. Damien hesitantly greeted back, causing the girl to blush and gush excitedly to her friend that she couldn't believe he replied to her. Damien, utterly confused, wondered if those girls were from Wald Hall, while Emil and Ewan teased him, saying that he was now basically the savior of Cecile and Wald Halls. The girl who greeted him earlier then noticed Becky walking nearby and screamed excitedly before greeting her as well. Becky was caught off guard and asked what was going on. The girl excitedly said that Becky's SOS plan had saved them all. Becky confidently agreed, saying that it was somewhat true, while another student noticed someone else approaching. It turned out to be Anya, who was absolutely thrilled when she saw them. The other students excitedly called her Anya the hero, which left her confused, while Damien and Becky were both taken aback. Two of the female students quickly ran up to Anya, continuing to call her a hero and saying she was so cool for standing up to the bad guys. Anya, however, gestured for them to stop and proudly told them they should now call her Double Starlight Anya. The girls immediately complied, happily exclaiming that she was the coolest. Anya smugly told them not to forget that, while Damien and Becky just stared at her with exasperated looks. Soon, two more male students greeted Anya, followed by three other classmates. One of them even apologized for everything he had said to her before. More and more of her schoolmates began to gather around her, asking if she hadn't been scared of the bomb and how she managed to convince that man to let them go. Another student even asked if she would like to walk to class together. Feeling triumphant, Anya grinned to herself and thought proudly that the era of Anya had begun. She imagined herself as an evil leader, wondering what she should do next. With how famous she was becoming, she thought it wouldn't be long before she had hundreds of friends, enough to conquer the entire world. Damien clicked his tongue in irritation, commenting on how she wallowed in the attention, likening her to a pig in slop. Becky teased him, saying it sounded like someone was jealous. Flustered, Damien stammered and asked if she was referring to him, while Becky smirked and pointed out that now everyone could see how charming Anya was. She asked if he was starting to worry one of Anya's admirers will take her away from him. Damien was overcome with dread at her words, and it seemed as if even the atmosphere around him reflected his discomfort when suddenly, a bird flew past, while their classmates continued showering Anya with praise and admiration. He noticed the strange shiver that ran through him afterward, slapped his own feelings in frustration, and blushed in annoyance as he told himself that he definitely did not shiver at that thought, and that he couldn't care less about that rot. Clicking his tongue again, Damien told the surrounding students that Anya hadn't convinced anyone to do anything, calling her nothing more than a greedy peasant begging for a free meal, and added a side comment wondering who even knew why the hijackers surrendered after that. His remark immediately caught Anya's attention. Even so, her classmates' attitude toward her didn't change. One asked if it was true that she was really a peasant, while another exclaimed how incredible that was and wondered how a commoner could have even gotten into Eden. Someone else commented that it was no wonder she was able to stand up to the bad guys since peasants were naturally that brash, leaving Anya speechless. A female classmate asked if she became a peasant, would she also become super tough like Anya, while another male classmate excitedly requested her to teach them all the secrets of the lower class. Another asked her what common people usually ate, adding as an example what they had for breakfast. Anya began recalling what you usually served her at home, hearing her mama's voice saying her special breakfast is ready. She explained to her classmates that there was always some burned black thing and some prickly, salty thing on her plate, and pointed out that her breakfasts were always like that. Her classmates shuddered at the thought. One of them exclaimed in horror that commoners must have stomachs of steel if they ate like that every day, while another agreed, saying that would toughen up anyone really fast. In contrast, Emile looked disgusted and asked if they could even imagine being so poor that their parents were the ones who cooked for them. Ewan chimed in, saying how pathetic that sounded, and asked Damien if he agreed. Blushing slightly, Damien answered that he didn't know and didn't see anything wrong with it, thinking to himself how delicious the food his mother cooked for him had been. Emile was shocked by his reaction, while Ewan sarcastically remarked that he had really gone soft for Anya lately. Flustered and irritated, Damien shouted that he wasn't sweet. He was super spicy instead, which caught Anya's attention. Anya then remembered Damien's plea to his mother not to tell his father that he cried, though in her imagination, she pictured his mother reacting differently, disgusted, saying that while it was cute, she hated weak and weepy children. Anya continued daydreaming, imagining one of her classmates saying that if they all acted like her, they could become super tough too. Her classmates cheerfully agreed and shouted that they should all become peasants, while a dumbfounded Damien grew annoyed and declared that he wanted to be strong too. She imagined that if Damien got jealous, he would bring his father to their house to let her teach him how commoners lived. In her fantasy, a respectful Donovan told her to take good care of his son. After imagining all that, Anya realized that one of her mistakes in the Plan B friendship scheme was pushing too hard to get invited to Damien's house. She concluded that what she should have done instead was invite him to her own home. In a way, she thought, it would have been the reverse of Plan B. She could even call it the B plan. With a confident smirk, she proudly looked at her classmates. One of them then asked if she wasn't afraid of eating those strange foods, to which she grinned and said that she simply accepted the possibility of death every day. As she said that, she also thought that if Damien wanted to be strong, she would impress him with the strength of her family. One of her classmates commented that what she said sounded pretty intense. Anya then explained, sneaking glances at Damien's reaction, that her family's daily training regimen had made her so strong she no longer needed to cry. Her classmates responded with admiration, saying that was so cool, while Damien thought to himself that she was lying, remembering vividly how she had bawled her eyes out that day. Afterward, they asked what other things she usually did, like what weird habits or experiences were normal for her. She told them that her papa heartlessly forced her to study every day. Her classmates, however, weren't impressed and said that their dads did the same, that it was completely normal. That made her gulp nervously before thinking of something else. She then added that when they went grocery shopping at the supermarket, her parents made her carry all the heavy stuff, though in truth, she only ever wanted to carry the candy. One of her female classmates was amazed, saying that would really help build her physical strength, while one of the boys commented that he couldn't get over the fact that her family actually did their own grocery shopping. Anya was absolutely delighted by her classmates' amazed reactions, so she continued making up stories, claiming that her toothbrush weighed about 100 kilos, their bathwater was always 100 degrees, and that every day she had to fight a giant white monster. In reality, she only meant that she played with Bond, but her classmates were left awestruck and horrified by the idea of everything she supposedly endured. Becky, however, grew concerned after noticing that Anya was getting carried away with all the attention and had started embellishing her stories. She didn't want everyone calling her a liar again. Because of that, Becky told their classmates that she believed the real secret to Anya's strength was the training she received from her mother. She added that Anya's mom was incredibly strong and had even trained her before, which shocked Anya and sparked curiosity among their classmates. One of them asked in amazement if peasant mothers were really that physically strong. Annoyed, Anya began to suspect that Becky was trying to divert her popularity toward her mama and wondered if Becky had been an enemy spy all along, trying to interfere with her friendship scheme. Her classmates then asked if they could be trained by her mother too if they came over to play at her house. Out of jealousy and losing sight of her original goal, Anya quickly replied that her mother wouldn't teach them anything and that even if they came over, they wouldn't get stronger at all. One of them asked why not. Anya then made up an excuse, saying her mama had broken her neck bone the other day and needed to rest for a while, which alarmed her classmates. They commented on how tough peasant moms must be and asked if she was okay. Anya said that she would train them in her mom's place instead, demonstrating how they should punch. Her classmates copied her moves and asked if they were doing it right, saying they were learning so much from her. Damien, however, grew irritated and told them to cut it out, pointing out that they looked like a bunch of idiots. He added that if they tried to be friends with Anya, they would only end up disgracing their families, and Emil and Ewan immediately agreed, leaving Anya shocked. Feeling challenged, Anya thought that now it was Scion Boy who was trying to stop her from becoming popular. Becky remarked that, well, she wasn't wrong, he was jealous, and then added slyly that while Anya might be saying that now, she shouldn't include her in it. Anya then turned directly to Damien and declared that she hated him, calling him a big mean jerk, completely losing sight of her original goal. Damien, flustered and blushing with irritation, shouted back that he hated her too. Not stopping there, Damien unleashed a furious stream of insults, calling her a big dumb stubby-legged uggo runt, a meal-grubbing she-beast, and even claiming that her mom was a gorilla and her dad a fraud. Emil and Ewan commented that his trash-talking was brutal, saying his skills had only gotten even better. Anya's eyes began to fill with tears as she muttered that she didn't have stubby legs, which immediately caught Damien's attention. Their classmates were shocked, gasping that Damien had made peasant Anya cry. They remarked that the Desmond family really was more hardcore, and that Damien must be stronger, causing Anya to gulp nervously in embarrassment. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she cried out in frustration, saying that she was supposed to be the strong one and that she only wanted to conquer the world. Becky, alarmed, told her to calm down and asked what she was even talking about. But Anya kept crying while Becky patted her to comfort her, and Damien grew flustered, realizing he had made her cry, while Emil praised him enthusiastically, saying he had totally dominated the situation. Embarrassed, Damien quickly apologized with a blush, saying he'd bring her some candy to make up for it, just as long as she stopped crying. Anya froze and stopped crying in surprise, while Emil and Ewan were completely stunned, asking in disbelief if he had really just apologized. Panicking, Damien immediately ran off, yelling that it wasn't like that and that the bell had rung, so they needed to get to class. His two friends pointed out that he had actually done it, but he shut them up right away, insisting that he'd just said it wasn't what they thought. He then told them that a man who could properly apologize was the stronger man, which technically meant that he was the winner. Emil and Ewan grinned and agreed that he had a point, while Anya frowned and argued that she still hadn't lost. Damien turned to her, confused, and asked what she meant by that, to which Anya replied that she was still stronger than him. Irritated, Damien asked in what universe that could possibly be true, reminding her that she had just been crying. Anya retorted that she hadn't cried at all, and that he was actually the one who cried when his mom came to pick him up, causing Damien to blush furiously in anger and embarrassment as he shouted for her to shut up and called her an idiot. Damien shot back that she was the one who cried so hard she was covered in snot, but Anya quickly denied it, insisting that she was too cute to have snot, which only made Damien even more frustrated as he snapped that now he was completely ticked off. As their argument dragged on, their classmates started to lose interest and wandered off to their classes. And because of their endless bickering, both of them ended up being late to class, just like good friends. In the next scene, it transitions to the residence of the tutor in residence, with the setting taking place around 4 in the morning. While the ticking sound of the clock echoed throughout his quiet room, he seemed restless in his sleep, tossing and turning as if deeply troubled. Suddenly, he woke up shouting, drenched in sweat from the nightmare he had just experienced. Breathing heavily from fear, the man was then introduced as Thomas Austin, the tutor in residence of Cecile Hall, 55 years old, with 30 years of teaching experience. Trembling in fear, he looked down at his hands and realized it had only been a dream, thinking to himself, "Not again." His wife then grumbled, telling him to pipe down since she was trying to sleep, prompting him to immediately apologize. He got up afterward and went to the kitchen to pour himself a glass of milk to calm down. While doing so, he thought to himself that he had been having far too many nightmares lately and wondered if it had something to do with the recent hijacking incident. His attention was then caught by his wallet and some papers resting on their table. When he noticed a paper sticking out of his wallet bearing the name Lloyd, he recalled how Henderson had told him that he could introduce him to an excellent psychiatrist if he ever wished to see one. Because of that, the next day, Thomas went to the hospital where Lloyd worked. He told Lloyd that Mr. Henderson had given him his contact information and with an embarrassed tone, added that that's why he had come. As Lloyd offered him tea, he told him it was very nice to meet him and that he was genuinely glad he decided to come and talk to him. Thomas then explained that, truthfully, he hadn't been sleeping well lately. He admitted, feeling ashamed, that he believed the recent hijacking might have affected him. Because of that, Lloyd reassured him not to feel ashamed, saying it was a perfectly natural reaction to such a terrifying experience. He added that while people might tell themselves that, as adults, they should be stronger, that simply wasn't how humans worked. Lloyd went on to explain that his own daughter had also been involved in the hijacking, so he personally understood how close the matter was to him, and told him that together, they would work to help him reclaim his life. In Thomas's thoughts, he commented that Lloyd seemed like such a kind man, then asked whether it was true that some of the students at their academy also received counseling there. Lloyd confirmed it, explaining that their team was delighted to be of service, while adding that they should nip this in the bud before it turned into a chronic condition. He thought to himself that, being the tutor in residence, Thomas Austin was closer to the students than most of the other faculty members, and that many prominent Eden alumni likely remembered him fondly. He also noted that with his long tenure, Thomas had probably built numerous valuable connections, and it certainly wouldn't hurt to have a man like him in his debt. Thomas then began recounting what he had been experiencing, until he mentioned that lately, he had been waking up from nightmares in the middle of the night. Lloyd asked him if he could remember what happened in his dreams, but also assured him that it was perfectly fine not to share if recalling them felt too painful. Thomas replied that he couldn't remember them at all, so Lloyd followed up by asking if he thought he might be flashing back to what happened on the bus, to which he answered that he really wasn't sure. He then added that his hands had been shaking, that he often felt tired during the day, and sometimes found himself getting agitated for no apparent reason. Lloyd asked if those symptoms began right after the incident, and Thomas replied that he thought so. Upon hearing that, Lloyd analyzed the situation, comparing the content of his statements with his eye movements, vocal tone, and other involuntary gestures, and as he did, he began to notice several subtle inconsistencies emerging. Thomas then expressed his concern about whether he would still be able to continue teaching under such a condition and worried about what might happen if he were to be dismissed from Eden. Lloyd reassured him not to worry too much about it, explaining that most cases of acute stress disorder tended to resolve naturally over time. Just as he had said earlier, it was a condition that could happen to anyone, and with time and patience, he assured Thomas that they could expect to see steady improvement. He continued to reassure him that everything would be all right, which made Thomas let out a sigh of relief as he felt some of the weight in his chest ease. After that, Lloyd decided to wrap up their consultation for the day, telling him that he would prescribe some light medication and observe how he responded to it. He also wanted him to try some of the relaxation techniques they had discussed earlier, to which Thomas happily agreed. As Thomas began walking toward the door, Lloyd told him that he would see him again the following Thursday. Thomas thanked him, and in return, Lloyd smiled kindly at him. After he left, Fiona entered the room carrying a stack of papers. As she handed Lloyd his schedule for the next week, she asked whether it was true that Thomas had been lying. Lloyd replied that he wasn't sure if Thomas was trying to deceive him or deceive himself. Before leaving the office, he asked Fiona if she could look into Thomas's background, and she agreed, silently noting that today's total interaction time was 0 minutes and 28 seconds. A week later, Thomas returned for his next session. He awkwardly scratched his head as he explained that he didn't really feel like his condition had improved much, adding with a nervous laugh that just last night, he had been tossing and turning so much that his wife yelled at him to stop. Hearing this, Lloyd's expression turned serious. He then asked if he and his wife had been married for long, to which Thomas replied yes, going on about 20 years now. Lloyd then followed up by asking what kinds of things they had been talking about lately, which left Thomas confused. He pointed out that, as he had said before, his wife only ever told him to be quiet. Lloyd paused for a moment and then remarked that that wasn't what he would consider talking. Thomas admitted that he didn't really understand what talking to his wife had to do with his condition. Lloyd then asked whether he had told his wife that he was seeking help for it. Thomas, looking flustered, quickly replied that of course not, that there was no way he could possibly tell her something like that. When Lloyd asked why, he nervously stammered that he was too scared. Lloyd was taken aback and asked why he was afraid, prompting Thomas to explain anxiously that if his wife saw him as being even more worthless than he already was, he couldn't imagine what she might say. Lloyd's attention sharpened at the word worthless. He pointed out that Thomas was a highly respected educator, but Thomas quickly brushed it off, saying they should forget about his wife and return to talking about his symptoms, adding that he hoped Lloyd could still do something more to help him. Lloyd's eyes narrowed, and after a brief pause, he apologized for what he was about to say. He then informed Thomas that over the past week, he had spoken to several people close to him. This visibly startled Thomas. Lloyd then explained that, based on what he understood, Thomas's symptoms had actually begun months before the bus incident, a statement that made Thomas freeze in shock and fear. Panicking, Thomas insisted that it couldn't be true and that everything had started because of the hijacking. He began recalling several moments from the past, his hands trembling uncontrollably before orientation, zoning out in class to the point that his students had to call his attention repeatedly, and the geometry teacher remarking how pale he looked and offering to find someone else to lead the museum trip. But Thomas had brushed it off, claiming he was simply sleep-deprived and would be fine. After recounting those memories, Lloyd asked if it was true that he'd been exposed to a stressor on a daily basis. Thomas, now trembling, covered his mouth in distress. Lloyd then added that perhaps it was something that frightened him even more than the hijacking itself. At that moment, a terrifying image flashed in Thomas's mind, his wife glaring at him with eyes so sharp they seemed ready to devour him. He remembered her scathing words, how she wondered whether the SSS would get rid of him if they ever found out he was such a slacker, how she mockingly suggested grinding him up into hamburger steak after he said, "Anything's fine for dinner," and how she told him to wash his brain clean while he was doing the laundry. Thinking about all this, Thomas began to deny Lloyd's implication, shouting that everything happening to him was because of the hijacking. But then, almost breaking down, he changed his words, crying out that it was all his fault. The next scene briefly showed a moment from his past, when he had fallen ill and been confined to a hospital bed. Standing beside him, his wife coldly told him that now that he wasn't home grinding his teeth all night, she could finally get a good night's sleep. She even added, with a cruel tone, that maybe she should just leave him in the hospital forever, of course, at his own expense. After recalling all those memories, Thomas could no longer contain the terror consuming him. He suddenly stood up and screamed as if there were no tomorrow, prompting Lloyd to tell him to calm down. Thomas shouted that this couldn't be happening and asked what kind of man was more afraid of his own wife than of terrorists. Lloyd calmly explained that every person fears different things, and that the first step was to recognize and accept those feelings. Crying uncontrollably, Thomas asked what he was supposed to do, so Lloyd told him that he needed to confront his fear, and that it was essential he talk to his wife about it. But Thomas only wept harder, exclaiming that no matter what he said, she always responded with nothing but a long sigh. Because of that, Lloyd suggested they try to objectively explore the source of his wife's frustrations. Thomas argued that he couldn't imagine what those could possibly be, though Lloyd already knew the answer. In his thoughts, he listed the facts from Fiona's investigative report, that Thomas had stood his wife up on their anniversary, didn't help with housework or childcare, left his dirty socks everywhere, and also had unresolved issues involving his mother. After considering that, Lloyd remarked that maintaining a relationship could indeed be difficult, which was why he always paid close attention to how his partner reacted to things at home. Internally, he added that for him, revealing his true identity or the collapse of his marriage could literally mean a matter of life or death. Thomas replied that he would try to be more attentive to his wife's expressions. Lloyd explained that it went beyond facial expressions. He could also read clues about her emotions through her tone of voice, her heartbeat, how often she blinked, and even the sound of her footsteps. Thomas was impressed, commenting that he studied such details so thoroughly, while Fiona, who was quietly listening from behind the door, thought to herself as if addressing Lloyd that no ordinary civilian could ever do all that. Lloyd went on to explain that it was also important to properly express gratitude to one's partner, to clearly recognize one's role in the household, and to do everything possible to help. But Thomas cut him off, saying he couldn't do it. He explained that even when he tried to improve, whenever he spoke to his wife, the words wouldn't come out, or his hands would start trembling, and things would always go wrong. Lloyd fell silent, visibly drained, realizing how deeply rooted Thomas's fear of his wife truly was. He then told him that they would begin by easing his trauma through talk therapy. He further explained that confronting one's fears was a painful process, but continuing to run away would only hinder recovery. By facing those fears, he added, Thomas could gradually learn to control the overwhelming terror that haunted him. Thomas then asked if he was really capable of doing that, and Lloyd reassured him that everything would be fine, that they would get through it together. Afterward, Lloyd had him lie down on the therapy bed, instructing him to close his eyes and steady his breathing. He told him to start by recalling a moment when he had been afraid of his wife, and Thomas did as told. However, as soon as he began remembering that moment, he screamed in fear, pleading with his wife to stop and not look at him that way while holding a carving knife. Lloyd quickly tried to calm him down, telling him that it was okay, that they weren't in the kitchen but in a doctor's office, and that he was safe there. Still, Thomas continued to cry out in panic, nearly in tears, begging his wife not to rub onions in his eyes and apologizing profusely for eating her pudding without permission. Lloyd froze for a moment, thinking to himself how unbelievably difficult authentic marriages must be, and how people even went to war over socks and pudding. Meanwhile, Fiona, who was secretly listening in, thought that if she were Lloyd's wife, she would never have allowed such a thing to happen. Sometime later, their session came to an end, and upon his return, Thomas cheerfully told Lloyd that little by little, he was finally able to talk to his wife again, thanking him sincerely. Lloyd replied that it was the first step toward peace. It was then said here that because of that, the world became just a little more peaceful. In the next scene, the story shifts to the home of Sylvia Sherwood, where her alarm clock begins ringing loudly. It keeps going off as the morning sunlight shines through her messy bedroom. Annoyed, she smacks the alarm to shut it off and immediately goes back to snoring. Her dog stares at her for a moment, and since she still hasn't gotten up, it starts tugging on her blanket while barking to wake her. Half asleep, Sylvia mumbles for it to stop, saying it's cold and telling it to quit pulling. Hours later, the scene transitions to the Westalis embassy in Ostania, where Sylvia arrives for work, still looking groggy. One of her co-workers greets her with a good morning, Secretary Sherwood, commenting that she was cutting it close again today, prompting Sylvia to apologize. As she rummages through her bag, she becomes irritated when she realizes she left her materials for the afternoon meeting at home. Another co-worker, looking concerned, points out that there's some dried pasta stuck to her clothes. Someone else remarks in surprise that her hair is a mess and advises her to put a little more effort into her appearance. But Sylvia ignores the comment, focusing instead on how her manicure is flaking off. She then takes the elevator, telling her co-workers she's going to check some files. One of them reminds her not to leave the records room in a total mess again. Once the elevator doors close, Sylvia presses the light button twice, then the to button once, followed by the B button once. With a weary tone, she mutters that she's tired. As the elevator descends, her demeanor gradually changes, becoming more serious. Before long, she arrives at basement 2, where the Wise headquarters is located. There, she switches her glasses, lets her hair down, and her entire aura shifts. She greets everyone with a calm but commanding good morning, to which a male agent replies with a smile, addressing her as handler. While walking, she simply says the word reports, and immediately, every agent begins giving their respective updates. One reports that today's National Council schedule has been received. Another presents an analysis of the recent SIGINT data related to the National Army. One mentions the latest press releases from Medable Heavy Industries. Another talks about Westalis's annual budget estimate, among other reports. After hearing all of this, Sylvia points toward 2 Wise agents and orders that 2 additional personnel be posted near the Prime Minister's residence. She also instructs them to have their C1 team interface with military intelligence regarding current border security issues, adding that they should ignore any complaints about their homeland. The 2 agents respond firmly with a yes, ma'am. When she finally reaches her desk, a mustached Wise agent approaches and sets a document down in front of her, catching her attention. She asks if it's her damage report for the remaining stock from the facility, but the agent calmly tells her to listen first, then suddenly bursts out, yelling in frustration, demanding to know how many times he has to tell her to stop leaving half-full coffee cups and half-eaten donuts all over the office. He shouts that it's a serious hygiene issue and warns that they're going to get rats in the building if it continues. Sylvia tells him to calm down and explains that she doesn't have time to clean up every little thing, but he retorts that if that's the case, she should stop getting another cup of coffee when she already has a nearly full one, then demands to know who even does that. Annoyed, Sylvia yells back for him to shut up, telling him to worry less about the rats in the office and more about the ones working for Eastern Counterintelligence. The other agents fall silent, awkwardly watching the commotion, while the mustached agent fires back that she really needs to stop being such a slob. Afterward, Sylvia leaves the office, clearly irritated as she grumbles about the amount of crap she gets over every little thing. Outside, 2 co-workers spot her and ask if she wants to grab lunch with them. She apologizes, saying she can't because she needs to head home to walk her dog. In the next scene, she arrives back at her apartment. Upon opening the door, she calls out to her dog, Aaron, saying it's time for a walk, but what she really means is that it's time to meet with Twilight. Aaron excitedly runs toward her, but he steps on a pile of papers scattered on the floor, slips, and crashes headfirst into a cabinet. Concerned, Sylvia asks what's wrong with him. She quickly brushes it off, and while picking up the trash and tossing it into a bin, she admits that it's her fault and apologizes for not cleaning up. As Aaron held his head after crashing, Sylvia remarked that she actually used to keep her home much cleaner. Just as she was about to say but, she paused and glanced around her messy apartment, remembering a time in the past when her house was spotless. In that memory, she saw her young daughter happily running toward her unidentified partner. After recalling that moment, she sighed and reflected that when you've been alone for too long, things like that just doesn't seem to matter anymore. She gave up on cleaning and said she'd take care of it later, then invited Aaron to head out, to which the dog happily barked. In the next scene, they arrived at the dog park, where we see Anya gleefully playing tag with Bond. Before long, Sylvia appeared at the park in disguise and sat down on a bench beside Lloyd. She greeted him cheerfully, commenting that it was a lovely day, though what she truly meant was asking what Anya was doing there with him. Lloyd replied that, according to the forecast, it would start raining later in the afternoon, and he answered her coded question by saying that the students had a half day today and Anya just really wanted to play. The two continued their conversation using secret codes. Lloyd asked if she had been followed, to which Sylvia confidently replied that she had already shaken off her pursuers. Lloyd then patted Aaron, commenting that her dog seemed very energetic, while discreetly retrieving a secret note hidden inside the dog's collar. Sylvia informed him that it was an extra mission for the following week, while scolding Aaron and calling him a bad dog as the animal started licking Lloyd. Lloyd brushed it off, saying it was fine, while noting that she was still every bit the taskmaster as ever. Sylvia then asked if he had made any progress with Melinda Desmond and whether he thought they could use her, to which Lloyd replied that there was still nothing new to report. He explained that after the hijacking incident, the Desmonds hadn't appeared together as a couple. Only Melinda had shown up. Anya, noticing the two talking, realized that the woman was her papa's boss lady. She approached them, prompting Sylvia to greet her, while Aaron barked loudly. Anya commented that Sylvia's dog looked strong, and Sylvia told Aaron to be quiet and behave. As Lloyd explained to Anya that Aaron was a German Shepherd, he subtly asked Sylvia through coded speech if his recollection about the dog was correct. Sylvia confirmed it and explained that Aaron was the bomb dog used by a terrorist group in an attempt to assassinate Minister Brantz. She took him home afterward and had cared for him ever since. Lloyd thought to himself that he never would have imagined that outcome, while Anya, fascinated, realized that the dog had once belonged to the bad guys from before. Aaron and Bond then began sniffing each other. In dog language, Aaron greeted Bond, saying it had been a long time since they'd met. Bond stared at him blankly, then tilted his head and asked who he was, leaving Aaron shocked and hurt. Feeling insulted, Aaron started barking angrily with tears in his eyes, so Sylvia scolded him for being a bad dog and told him not to pick a fight, while Bond gestured for him to calm down. After that, Sylvia signaled to Lloyd that their conversation was finished, so she decided to take her leave, apologizing for the commotion. Lloyd told her not to worry about it. As Sylvia and Aaron walked away, Anya used her telepathy and asked Bond if he really wanted to play with that other dog, to which Bond barked excitedly. Anya immediately sprinted towards Sylvia, shouting charge while Bond followed right behind her. Lloyd called out, trying to stop her and telling her to come back. Anya then asked Sylvia what her dog's name was. Sylvia replied that it was Aaron. Anya commented that it sounded really cool and curiously asked who the name was based on, urging Sylvia to tell her. Sylvia calmly explained that she looked through a book of names, and that was the very first entry she saw. Upon hearing that, Aaron turned toward her in utter shock, while both Anya and Lloyd stood frozen. Then, Anya suddenly came up with an idea and excitedly suggested that they have a showdown to see which dog was better, Bond or Aaron. Lloyd tried to stop her, asking what on earth she was talking about, then apologized to Sylvia and told her not to mind it. Aaron barked in response, and to Lloyd's surprise, Sylvia agreed to the idea, saying in disguise that it actually sounded fun. Still pretending to make small talk, she told Lloyd they should see which of them had done a better job training their dog. Lloyd, also maintaining his disguise, replied that it was getting late, but what he truly meant in code was to ask the handler what the point of this whole thing even was. Sylvia suddenly proposed that if Lloyd won, she would make his extra mission go away, and hearing that, Lloyd immediately accepted her challenge without hesitation. A spark of competition flared between the two, prompting Anya to think to herself how incredibly exciting this was. Sylvia then explained that they would have 3 events, with the first being an obstacle course where the fastest dog to reach the end would win. Sylvia and Aaron went first. As she encouraged Aaron to start, She thought to herself that there was no way Twilight's leadership skills would outshine hers. Aaron skillfully maneuvered through the weave poles with ease, leaving Anya in awe as she watched. He smoothly cleared the bar jump and the closed tunnel, completing the entire obstacle course in just 39 seconds. Impressed, Anya told Aaron how amazing he was. Sylvia nearly bragged to Lloyd to see if he could beat that time, but she stopped herself and instead wished him good luck. Lloyd and Bond exchanged a serious look, nodding to each other like two partners heading into battle. When their turn came, they sprinted toward the obstacle course together. However, unlike Aaron, Bond struggled through it, stumbling over the bar jump, slipping off the dog walk, and tumbling into the shrubs, leaving Lloyd completely speechless. By the time Bond finished, he was sprawled on the ground, exhausted. It had taken him 2 minutes and 18 seconds to complete the course. Aaron grinned smugly, while Sylvia asked Lloyd if he was ready to concede. Lloyd, refusing to give up, asked if she was kidding and encouraged Bond that they could still turn this around, to which Bond barked in agreement. For the next event, Sylvia explained that it would be a tracking and retrieving challenge, where they would each hide their opponent's handkerchief somewhere in the park, and the first dog to bring it back would win. Aaron started by sniffing around Lloyd, while Lloyd thought to himself that he had made sure to remove as much of his scent as possible. Meanwhile, Bond began sniffing around Sylvia, thinking there was no way he'd find her hiding spot that easily. After both dogs were positioned, Sylvia called out ready, set, go, and the two took off in search of the handkerchiefs. They both sniffed around the park, but neither could find anything. Aaron slumped down, looking defeated, while Bond sat quietly, contemplating giving up. Suddenly, Bond's stomach growled, and a new scent wafted through the air, seafood pasta. The smell immediately caught his attention. Following the delicious scent, Bond was led to a nearby bench. He sniffed around the base of it, hoping to find the pasta, and when he looked underneath, he spotted a handkerchief stuck to the bottom. When he sniffed it, he recognized Sylvia's scent instantly. He realized that the reason he had detected seafood pasta was because Sylvia had a dried pasta stuck to her cloths. Bond quickly ran back with the handkerchief, shocking Sylvia, who couldn't believe he had found it so quickly. Anya cheered loudly, and Lloyd praised Bond for a job well done. Sylvia clicked her tongue in frustration, admitting she thought she had eliminated her scent completely, but she accepted the result, declaring the score tied. Next came the final event, the frisbee catch. Sylvia explained that whichever dog caught the frisbee from the farthest distance would win, but if they failed to catch it, they'd lose. Lloyd thought to himself that in that case, the thrower's skill would also play a role, which might give them an advantage. He called out to Bond, telling him they'd just do what they always did, and Bond barked in agreement. Suddenly, Bond's precognition kicked in. He foresaw what was about to happen. Once Lloyd and Sylvia threw their frisbees, a sudden strong gust of wind would blow, sending both discs off course. The wind would push the frisbees right back toward them, prompting Sylvia in the vision to decide they'd have to redo the round. Anya, having read Bond's thoughts, smirked mischievously, already convinced the match was in the bag. When the time came, both teams prepared to throw. Lloyd and Sylvia launched their frisbees simultaneously, sending them flying fast through the air. To Lloyd's surprise, Bond didn't move a muscle. He just sat still. Worried, Lloyd asked what he was doing and told him to run. Sylvia cheered for Aaron to go for it, but just as Bond had foreseen, a sudden gust of wind blew through the park, throwing both frisbees off trajectory. Sylvia gasped in surprise at the unexpected blast of wind. Bond, however, sat proudly with a smug grin, while Lloyd, bewildered, muttered in disbelief, asking if Bond could actually sense the change in the wind. Bond's aura gleamed confidently, and as the frisbee curved back toward them, he leapt up to catch it, with Anya cheering him on. However, instead of catching it, the frisbee smacked him squarely in the face, knocking him to the ground. The disc landed beside him as he lay there, dazed. Anya cried out in alarm, begging him not to die, while Bond barked weakly in confusion. Lloyd also asked if he was okay, concerned, while Sylvia, now speechless, suggested they just call this one a tie. Moments later, the scene settled. As Aaron and Bond sat side by side, Anya happily said that she had so much fun playing with Aaron. The three of them cheered together joyfully, while Sylvia turned to Lloyd and said that she remembered hearing something. It wasn't definitive yet, but apparently, some of the Project Apple research teams might still be active. This caught Lloyd's attention, and he asked if they were connected to Desmond through the previous administration. Sylvia replied that she didn't know for sure, but they intended to find out. Standing up, Sylvia called for Aaron, saying it was time to go, and Aaron immediately ran to her side. Anya cheerfully commented that it looked like Sylvia had fun too, even at her age. Sylvia twitched and went darkly silent, repeating "at my age" under her breath, which made Anya panic and stammer as she tried to explain what she meant. But the tension quickly vanished when Sylvia smiled and gently patted Anya's head, telling her that she actually did have fun today. She thanked her and said they should play again sometime, while thinking privately that she doubted she'd ever use this disguise again. Anya jumped up and down with excitement, cheering as Bond barked happily beside her. Sylvia waved goodbye, and Aaron barked as if saying farewell too. As they walked home, Sylvia told Aaron that once she got back from work, she'd finally tidy up the house. Aaron barked with a confused tone, so Sylvia assured him that this time, she really meant it, for real.